What? It was weird. Showed up twice on my Twitter feed at the same time.
Ill-advised yet entertaining. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. How do you do? Great to be with you once again. Happy Wednesday. The midweek edition is here. 3 hours of sports talk excellence coming your way, starting right this very second. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me, on the other side of the glass, both metaphorically and quite literally, the great one, the Alpha and the Omega of ESPN Upstate, Colonel Grudge, hashtag Dad Kicks. Lonzo is here with us today as well. What up, Zoe?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
That it is. That it is. Just it's Chamber of Commerce quality weather today, ladies and gentlemen. Grossness surrounding us today here in the Upstate. But you know what?
I floated my way in today, which was interesting, to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm going side roads. There's a lot of standing water out here.
Yeah, I had to paddle my way in through the parking lot. You're not wrong. Pretty gnarly. I had to get the oars out. It's gross.
I didn't want to drift on 385, at least only on Saturdays.
Right. I was going to say, not on a work day. Save that for the weekends. Lonzo, 3 Fast, 3 Furious is Zoe, because he's better than the rest of them. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have a show lined up for you today? A lot of stuff we need to get to, a lot of stuff that we are going to talk about on the broadcast this afternoon. Could Freddie Freedman be on his way out of the ATL? And can anybody know, since the lockout meeting yesterday was viewed apparently by the league, by Major League Baseball, as a step back from where the negotiations have been ongoing? I've got details of that coming up later on in the show. Had a lot of great news about NASCAR over the past 2 weeks. Some not great news coming out after the Daytona 500. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. I have the story, Lonzo, as the Winter Olympics have come to their conclusion, of a Finnish that's Finnish like the country Finland, not like a skier who finishes.
There's like 2 ends, right?
Yes.
I believe so. Yeah.
Finnish skier who suffered what might be simultaneously both the most horrible injury and hilarious injury to ever happen in sports. Tell you about that one coming up later on in the show.
They didn't lose a groin, did they? Ooh, okay.
Very close. Very close. Lonzo's fake injury may have come real for a Finnish long-distance skier. Tell you about that coming up in a little while. The Deshaun Watson story has hit a new milestone. He will be allowed to be deposed in the civil suits that he faces right now. We're going to talk about what that means both for Deshaun and for the teams that may be interested in picking him up, coming up in just a little while from now. And The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, has made an announcement about the USFL and the USFL draft. Day number 2 going on today, a 35-round draft. And there have been some names on there that you will recognize. And we'll tell you about what the USFL has done with the NFL that might help breed a little bit of success. I got that coming up for you here in just a little while from now. Also, later on in the show, a little bit of fallout, a recognition that I had last night. I got into a conversation with a friend of mine about the U.S. women's national team and the equal pay lawsuit that they won, creating a $24 million pot of money that will go to some of the players for their post-career as well as charitable efforts that they want to be involved with. I'm going to tell you what that is coming up later on in the show as well. All of that and more over the next 2 hours, 52 minutes, and 46 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. With that being said, let us begin.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
It's what we call nap weather, Lonzo. Perfect weather for the siesta.
Except not for the next 3 hours after that. Yeah, you can nap after that.
I'm like Pavlovian conditioned to, oh, it's raining? Well, I should take a nap then. Like I'm always ramped up during the show. I'm gonna be just fine today, but I gotta tell you, I've dropped a couple of yawns, including one that partially slipped on air a second ago.
Yes, it did, which is why I looked at you like, what's the point if you're not going to keep it off for the entire time? If you like, we can test the science behind what you just said. We can close the blinds. If you can't see the rain, do you know that it's raining?
Oh, it's too late now. It's too late now, right? Like I know what it is. It's siesta weather. Are you pro or anti-nap? Like, I have found that there are really two schools of people. There are the people like me who very much think that naps are one of the great joys in life. And then there are folks like my little brother who is not only not a napping person, but is anti-nap to the point that if someone he knows takes a nap, he will try to ruin it because he does not believe that people should nap during the day.
I appreciate the troll game. Let me just say that I was the morning show producer for like 14 or 15 years. You cannot be a morning show producer and then make it to your children's activities afterwards without taking a nap. So yes, a very pro nap. My problem is now, and I don't know if it's because I'm old or what, when I get home from work, I want to take a nap now, and that's a bad idea. Because if you take a nap in the evening, like around 6 o'clock, and you wake up at 8 o'clock, you don't go to bed till like 2. That's a bad move.
I am so pro siesta. I did morning show radio for about 6 years. Yeah, both as a producer and a host. Did morning show radio for about 6 years. And I had an old mentor of mine who had been doing it for like 20 years. And about a year and a half in, I've been doing it for a year and a half, getting up at 3:30 in the morning, in the office between 4:30 and 5, on the air 6 to 9, work 9 to noon, go home. My day had to come to its conclusion. If you know me at all, you know I am a night owl. You can find me typically on Twitter up till around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I said, Adam, when will I ever get used to this schedule? And he said, Lonzo, you never get used to the schedule. You only get used to working while you're tired. And never a more true statement has been uttered.
It's extremely true. And without a doubt, the naps just helped me to stay awake through the tiredness. But without them, it would have been hard for me to function in the evening.
Oh, the only way I survived as a person through that era of my life was the daily routine siesta. And I genuinely believe that is why my sleep schedule to this day is jacked. But if it rains, you can go ahead and consider me worthless. Consider me worthless. Text says, wow, Rob, the first thing in Google about yawning is yawning also occurs frequently in people who are doing boring or tedious things.
Way to go, Texture. I was about to point this out. We have an exciting show today. And then you talk about yawning for
Why would you fake yawn? Why would you fake yawn?
Oh, now I'm going to do it the entire time. Now, I don't have to do this, but let's say that I wanted more airtime. I would just yawn a bunch, and then I could talk the entire show.
I apologize to the stream who's going to watch the back of my head for the remainder
you don't
of this
want to do that.
broadcast.
You don't want to do that.
Why is my hair messed up? I just got a cut.
You don't.
It's fresh.
There may be something developing back there.
I don't know which of these two things is worse now, Lonzo, to be honest with you. All right.
The part is excellent, by the way, and everyone got to see it. I mean, that is a sweet part that took some effort.
Keegan says, when are you not considered worthless, Rob? Asking for a friend. That guy's got me standing in his wedding in 2 weeks, and he's going to drop that line on you. With friends like these, right?
That's true friendship right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. First texter says, I am pro nap. I am also pro siesta. Life is better calling it siestas. Mark that down.
What's the length of the nap, though? Because if you go beyond a certain time, it's no longer nap, it's sleep.
Sleep.
Yes.
I go an hour. I'm usually good for about an hour. Takes me. Now, I will tell you, there's the old question, Lonzo, about like, if you could have any superpower, what would it be, right? A lot of people say invisibility. A lot of people say flying. A lot of people say super speed. The superpower that I wish I had, Lonzo, is that of those of you that can just fall asleep in like seconds. Just put the head on the pillow and you're out. I wish I had that superpower. The lady friend's like that, right? She goes to bed, the head hits the pillow, 17 to 30 seconds, she is snoring out. I don't get it. Takes me like half an hour to pass out. I've never gotten it. So siesta got to be about an hour, so I got to dedicate about an hour and a half to it. And that's about it. That's a good length. That's a good length. All right, item number one on the lunch breakdown. We mentioned it to open the segment. Rumors swirling right now that Freddie Freedman might be on his way out of Atlanta. The Braves and the first baseman were unable to strike a deal to keep him as an Atlanta Brave before the December 2nd lockout. Of course, after the lockout is over, or has engaged, once the lockout engaged, teams and players can no longer work together in order to negotiate deals, which means that Freddie Freedman will remain a free agent through the end of the deal. The thought process was that after the Atlanta Braves won the World Series this past year, that Freddie Freedman would want to stay in Atlanta. However, the lockout may be more harmful to the Braves than just causing them to miss some regular season baseball, as the rumor is that the 32-year-old first-time free agent who avoided free agency the first time around by signing an 8-year, $135 million contract with the Braves before 2014, a deal that obviously proved extremely team-friendly, may have been getting some discussion, may have been getting some input from other teams pre-lockout, had some time mid-lockout to think it over, and may have decided during the lockout to walk away from Atlanta. Now, there is nothing solid on that right now, right? Again, teams and players can't be talking right now. It doesn't mean that they are not. It doesn't mean that there is no conversation happening. Not supposed to be, but there might. However, there's been a lot of buzz lately, according to Corey Seidman of Yahoo Sports, that the Baseball Insiders believe that Freddie Freedman has not been able to find common ground with the Atlanta Braves. Last week, Hall of Fame Braves third baseman Chipper Jones said on 92.9 The Game out of Atlanta, of course, a good friend of ours, has been inside baseball here on that one in a while. Abe Gordon, who you've heard on the show many times, a host and producer for 92.9. Chipper said on that station, quote, I haven't talked to Freddie in quite some time, but I'm pretty sure he's probably a little frustrated this wasn't done in spring training last year. The fact of the matter is we didn't have any fans in the stands. We've got owners that didn't know where revenue was going to be at the end of the year, and maybe he held out a little bit. The bottom line is Freddie, I believe, before it's all said and done, will be playing where he wants to play. I know he's a West Coast guy. I know he has a home here in Atlanta, but Freddie, if he wants to play for the Braves, he'll be playing for the Braves. I will leave it at that. Of course, a lot of different ways to interpret the comments there of one Larry Wayne Chipper Jones. But a lot of Braves fans are about ready to hit the panic button right now on whether or not Fabulous Freddie could be on his way out of Atlanta. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown, we stay with Major League Baseball. The second of at least 4, possibly 5 meetings taking place yesterday between MLB and the MLBPA. Day 2 of in-person meetings between the two entities produced little progress towards a new CBA, while the league viewed the negotiations as, according to J Roddick of ESPN, a step back. The union cut down on its proposal for players to enter arbitration after 2 years from 80% of players to 75%, but countered that by asking for more in the minimum salary structure. Instead of minimum salary raises of $25,000, the union asked for $30,000 each year of the deal. Since the Super 2 issue is a non-starter for the league, it viewed the combination of tweaks moving away from an agreement instead of toward one. The league says it doesn't have the votes to expand the Super 2 beyond the 22% who enter the system currently, so the union can ask for any amount above that 22%, but likely will not get it, according to J Roddick. The meeting involved league officials and their counterparts from the PA, including a group of players. They met for about 3 hours yesterday. They met 3 hours on Monday as well. Neither side moved much at all in terms of overall negotiations. According to Rodgers, the league brought up the idea of using a federal mediator, and for the second time in 2 weeks, the union shot it down. So here we are. The belief was that tomorrow or Friday were the last 2 days in which the league and the Players Association could reach an agreement that would prevent the regular season opening day from being pushed back and regular season games from being missed. We are now at code red, end of deadline, good luck, get it done time, and nothing is getting done. Not only is nothing getting done, but league officials are telling the reporters covering these meetings that the meetings have taken a step back, not forward. Not great. Not great. Now, item number 3 on the lunch breakdown. I want to get into a little bit more on the other side of the break, because I've got to tell you, I love this story. I love this story because it is drama, I guess. I guess we'd call it drama. There is a verbal altercation taking place between I Hit Bombs Phil Mickelson and the PGA Tour over some comments that Lefty made earlier in the week. And now scores of players on the league are going right after Lefty, and he's had to back down, which we don't see out of Phil very often. I'm going to lay that story out next because I find it highly entertaining, and this may shock you, I want to. So that's what we're going to do next. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. I'm going to go see if I have a Red Bull. This text just came in from my mom a minute ago. It said, tune in just in time for that. Why did you do that again? And sent me the Dumb and Dumber haircut as a joke. Love you too, Mom. I don't know why you gotta be a jerk to your son all the time, but I love you too.
Whose haircut does she like more, yours or your brother's?
0 for 2, in her opinion.
Oh, okay, because...
She hates the long hair. She hates the short hair.
Okay, all right.
I guess we're all supposed to look like the Beatles.
Nothing wrong with looking like the Beatles.
ESPN Upstate is your home for Furman Paladins men's basketball. Every play, every game on ESPN Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg. On your computer, smart speaker, and phone on the Odyssey app. Welcome, golfers, to our coverage of the 2022 Upstate Golf Card, your access to the best courses in the Upstate. Now, let's check in with Kevin on the 17th hole at Greer Golf. Kevin?
Greer Golf is in great shape for the season. From tee to green, it is beautiful and lush. Back to you in the tower.
Let's move over to Jimmy on the 9th at Legacy Pines.
Legacy Pines is setting up amazingly. From the tips to the reds, it's challenging for all skill levels.
Thanks, Jimmy. Looks like we've got a golfer on the beach. What's going on at Lindsay?
She just referred to it as a comb over. It's not a comb over, Rhonda.
Come on, man.
It's
Don't
called fashion. You should look it up.
be respectful. Call your mom. Use her name. Now, you could say that there's the space of the part.
It's called a hard part.
Yeah, but it's especially from the back when you turned around, it's pretty wide.
Yeah. It's a
To
hard
the
part.
point where it would almost look like there was glue involved.
Wow.
I'm just saying. So
Wow.
I know there isn't.
Wow.
But-
Being double teamed by Team Ronzo over here.
What do I know about haircuts though? So I mean, there's that.
Is it a bad day to tell Rob that his shirt fit him a lot better? Just everybody chose violence today, huh? Keegan asking me, when am I not considered worthless? Steven telling me this shirt fit better last year. My mom saying I have a comb over. Ronzo telling me I have a toupee look. Anybody else? Anybody else got anything? Just piling on, kids.
You know what we're doing? We're fueling your anger and the adrenaline that comes with that.
Uh-huh.
So you stop yawning. And it's working.
Yeah.
I'm seeing you didn't find a monster.
I did not.
You are welcome to one of my Mountain Dews.
I
if you like.
appreciate it.
They do have quite a bit of caffeine in them. It is zero sugar, but I will tell you, it tastes excellent.
I got a sample of some energy drink yesterday, and I just had one 2 hours ago. And not only did it not work, but it was gross. So I got the old double whammy. Tell you guys how the break went for me. So you know where I'm coming from today.
If you were on the stream, you actually could have seen the whole thing take place.
At Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. If you'd like to pile in as well, you're welcome to do so. Went and got cleaned up before the show today because I've got an event this weekend. Keegan's getting married in a couple of weeks. He asked me to stand in his wedding, so I got to get cleaned up for that, get prepped for that. With the hair, so I went and got a haircut. The Madre sends me a text that said, I just tuned into the stream. Why did you do that again? And then sent me a gift of Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, it was a gift, not a gift. Although it was a gift for all of us.
Yeah, it was a gift for you guys. Sent me a gif of Jim Carrey's character from Dumb and Dumber. Lonzo forming the tag team Ronzo of my mother and my producer then told me that with the hard part in my hair the way that it is, when I face the wrong way, it looks like I'm wearing a toupee. Then Keegan, again, who asked me to stand at his wedding in a couple of weeks, asked me, is there any day that I'm not worthless as a person? And then Steven said, is it a bad day to tell Rob that the shirt he's wearing fit him a lot better last year?
There's only one thing that you said wrong in that entire thing. It's executive producer.
My gosh, I'm sorry that I took away half of your title in the story about you and my mother both NWOing me over my haircut. Pretty rad. Before Steven told me I got fat again, and before Keegan told me I am worthless. I apologize for not calling you by the correct title, executive producer Lonzo.
That's better. And, Keegan's right, even though Keegan doesn't know the reference. I think the tag team should be Cup of Haters.
It's not a cup of haters. It's a whole stream full of haters right now. It's the whole coffee maker full of haters right now.
I think that's the point. The coffee maker is working because there hasn't been a word that begins with a Y in like 5-10 minutes. So, I mean, we're here for you, Rob. That's what we're doing. Is that loose hair or dandruff? I don't know. What are you doing?
It's water on the good God.
Do you need? I think there's towels around here somewhere. There's some wipes right there. Use those.
I wipe a drop of water off the desk, and Lonzo asked me, "Do you have dandruff or is your hair falling out?"
You just got a haircut. When you get a haircut, loose hair. I mean, the first wash doesn't always get it out. I wasn't, implying.
He says after telling me I look like I have a toupee on. My good. Does anybody have anything else? Would anybody else like to get it out of the way while we're starting the show here? It's just hate on Rob Day. Anybody got anything else? Anybody want to tell me my teeth are jacked up? Yes, I know. Anybody else want to tell me I got a lot of gray starting to show up? Yes, I know.
My wife is on your side, by the way, and she is on the stream asking me not to pick.
Thank you, Miss Lisa, for being the one person that's got my back right now. I appreciate that.
I would offer you a comforting embrace, but we haven't won anything today, so,
Ladies and gentlemen, if you listen to this show out of hate, spite, and contempt for its host, today's your day. Send in your awful hot let's bag on Rob takes to the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. And yeah, I'll read them. Why not? Everybody else is just saying them to my face. What's it going to hurt? I'm ugly. I'm fat. I look like I have a toupee on. I'm worthless. I have dandruff and my hair is falling out. What else you got, America? I'm here for it. Texter says, okay, Rob, we get it. Your feelings are hurt. That's actually a good text. That's actually a really good text. All right. Speaking of feelings getting hurt, let's get to Phil Mickelson's story. Absolutely adore this story. So there is a bit of controversy going on in the world of golf right now because the texter says, Rob, were you born stupid or did you have to work at it?
All right. Now come on.
Yeah, let's stick to the Rob's fat and wears a toupee cracks. All right. Don't make it personal, says executive producer Lonzo. So there is a Saudi Arabian financed breakaway golf league. Okay. Group of Saudi internationals are trying to create effectively an alternate PGA. This would be a completely separate tour from the golf tour that we currently know and love, tolerate, whatever you might want to use there. And there's been a lot of pushback against this league. But there's been a couple of guys that have said that they could be interested. Phil Mickelson was perhaps the one that may have been the most staunch in his, I don't want to say support of this, but his discussion about why it is that this league might have worked. Mickelson wrote in a social media post a few days ago that he was considering joining the Saudi Breakaway Golf League. He opened his comments, and I am paraphrasing because, and this may shock you, he has deleted them entirely. But Phil Mickelson said that because of the way the PGA Tour is being run right now, including a belief that the top level players on the tour, some of the ones who work hand in hand with the PGA to come up with the rules and the protocols for the league, don't take anybody who's not a top tier player into consideration when establishing these rules and protocols. He said, we know that the Saudi Arabians are, quote, scary, end quote, people. And specifically dropped a reference to the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, I believe was the name. The journalist, the ex-Saudi journalist, who was effectively murdered by the Saudi Arabian government for the audacity of writing news stories about them. And he said they are scary MFers, but that he would still consider joining the league because it would finally put some pressure on the current golf establishment in the great United States to make some changes and to start to dole out some of that power away from only the top, 15, 20, 25 guys who golf on tour right now. Well, Mickelson, after saying that it might be worth it to go play for a golf league run by, quote, scary, end quote, people who are murderers, his insinuation, not mine, Phil Mickelson got blasted. Rory McIlroy came out and called him an idiot, as did about 10 other top-tier golfers who said that these comments were selfish, irresponsible, dangerous, and idiotic, etc. Well, Phil has written a very long apology on social media, complete with the Phil Mickelson logo letterhead, in which he said that he was sorry, that the words that he used, he regrets, and that they, quote, do not reflect my true feelings or intentions, end quote. I mean, I got to tell you, it's one thing if you drop a line, if you drop a sentence that maybe gets a little squirrely on you, goes a little sideways, and you go, you know what, those words came out in a way that I didn't intend them to, right? We've all done that. We've all said something to a teammate or a coworker or a significant other that as soon as you finish that sentence, you go, oh, hell. Did not mean to say that. Did not mean for it to sound the way that it sounded. But Phil, when you put out 4 paragraphs where you say, yeah, they're a bunch of scary sons of guns, but I'd rather be playing with them than these Americans who do things the way I don't like. I gotta tell you, man, it's not so much the stylistic choices there that have people a little bit upset about what you said.
So why didn't he do what a lot of people do and just blame it on the alcohol?
Because Phil doesn't drink.
Okay.
And because...
So you can't blame it on that, so...
You just got to own it. And Phil didn't own it. Phil gave the old classic, the words I used did not truly reflect who I am as a person, which drives me crazy because... Yes, they did.
Yeah, I don't...
Yes, they did,
yeah.
Philip. Yes, they did. By the way, as a drinker, let me just go on the record and say, if you blame booze for being an a-hole, it's not the whiskey, buddy. It's you. You're just a jerk.
You're probably right, but he might have, the people coming at him might have been less harsh.
Oh, I think he thought that there were going to be people in his corner, right? I think he thought that a lot of other golfers were of the same mindset. I think he thought that a lot of other golfers were going to go, yeah, we're going to overlook the massive countrywide civil rights and
or
human rights violations for a little more money.
Maybe he's had these conversations with a ton of those golfers and they've all said, oh, yeah, you're right, Phil, you're right. You should say something. And then he says something and then they're all like, no, man, I don't know what he's talking about.
I mean, maybe. But I doubt it. Most of the guys that went after him, Rory McIlroy included, have already expressed that they have zero interest in the Saudi-backed golf league. Most of the golfers. There have been 1 or 2 others that have been like, I'd consider another tour. Maybe not that one, but I'd consider another tour if there was one available. Phil went out on a very thin branch and it broke and everybody laughed at him on the way down. What I find interesting about this is that up until recently, Phil Mickelson, we've talked about the last, what do they call it? The match. He did the one with Tiger and Peyton and Tom Brady. And who did he do it with this past year? Do it with Bryson DeChambeau and ran color and play-by-play on it, right? Phil did a really good job of building up this image about himself. He's been in commercials and ads and did a really good job. And then he screwed up. it's one thing to screw up, right? It's one thing to screw up. It's one thing to say something silly. It's one thing to say something and go, that's not what I meant. That came across the wrong way. That's on me. That's on me. It's another thing to say awful things and then go, that's not really who I am. No. It is, though, Phil. It is who you are. That's who you are. That's what you are. And you put it out there in the open and you regret it because you were on your way to becoming a brand as popular in golf as any other brand out there. And you done screwed up because you put your real self out there, and your real self, not a great look. Not a great look. Phil's going to go down after this whole situation, especially now that he came out and he didn't just apologize, right? Lonzo, I have so much more respect when a guy comes out and goes, you know what? I screwed up. That's on me. My bad. I'm sorry. I blew it. Versus, the words that I use do not reflect who I am as a person. Yes, they do, you liar. Own it. Own it. Hey, I screwed up. I messed up. I said some dumb stuff, and I apologize. I shouldn't have said it. I regret saying it. I won't say it again. Versus, that's not me. Yeah, but it is, though, Phil. We all saw it, which is too bad. Because a week ago, Phil's a guy that I'll watch anything this guy does on TV.
So what you're saying is Phil Mickelson is now canceled? I'm trying to, you just said it's too bad. So that means you won't watch him anymore?
I mean, not in solo events, right? If he's playing in the match, I'm far less interested in watching it than I was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. By the way, that's not being canceled. That's societal consequences.
Or it's kind of canceling yourself, I guess.
Yeah. It's dumb. It's a dumb thing to say. It was a dumb take. It was a bad take.
It'll blow over.
I'm going to shock you.
It'll blow over. In a couple of weeks, people forget all about it.
Oh, I have no doubt that in 6 months from now, very few people are still going to care. What I'm going to tell you here is, in the age of the internet, consequences are for real. And saying things like, I would accept money from a country known for extreme human rights violations because the PGA Tour doesn't do things the way I want them done is a bad take.
Well, maybe he saw that, we just went to China with all the things that were going on there and, spend a lot of money to put broadcasts on, and it was okay for that to happen. So why not do this?
That's a fair point. It's a fair point. All right, a couple of texts that have come in so far. Phil can go blank himself. He is a blanking clown. He wants to start a new golf tour with human rights violators because he thinks the PGA doesn't pay the top golfers well. What a blanking D-bag, always has been. And another texter says, I cooked for the players at the Masters for 3 years. Phil Mickelson is a D-bag. He is the fakest person I've met in my life. And another texter says, I apologize for my poor apology. Best regards, Phil Mickelson. Yeah, it's a pretty bad look. Phil had done a really good job of taking an image of a golfer that wasn't always really that well loved and kind of reshaping it post move to the Champions Tour, right? Post move to the Old Guys Tour and building something new out of it. And here we go right back to the bottom of the barrel. Well done, Phil. Well done. Let's take a break. Back after this. Rob Lonzo, you. My hair is real, and it looks good. It's ESPN Upstate. NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, Micah Parsons, is a WWE fan who appeared on the bump last night.
Really?
Another one of those not real men that likes wrestling.
On the Pat McAfee show yesterday, Rodgers said he has a few things to think about, but it won't be long before he makes his decision. Quarterback Saran Neal returning to the Bills on a 3-year deal worth up to $11 million. He's been one of Buffalo's best special teams players and provides depth in the secondary, which is one of the biggest areas.
Try to be as cryptic as I can. I was thinking today that a couple years ago when a submission was put in someone wanted me to remove the wrestler from the submission and was really adamant about no, this will cost us. We can't put this in there. And I was thinking today that the fact that that was in there, that meant trying to think of the right way to say this, approval of said sport or sport
Validation.
entertainment. Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you agree to something with something on it, then you're saying that that is something that you're okay with.
I got to tell you, I think that Tony Atlas clip we had in ours probably went a real long way towards getting some crystal, towards getting some hardware.
My brain just goes places sometimes. What can I say? You see the bacon?
Delicious, right? It's done right there. It's done. Take it off the grill.
It already looks crispy.
It's done.
It does not look. What was the word you used yesterday? Floppy? Does not. That is some.
No.
You could hold that bacon and it's going to.
When you pick up bacon, it should.
No, it should not. And the poll reflects how wrong you are. Although really, it's just a preference, so you can't be wrong on a preference, I suppose. As someone who likes to be different in their opinions, I applaud the fact that you're very different in that opinion. Good job.
Less. A whole month's supply is just $30, and it's sent right to your home for free in discreet packaging.
I saw AJ do an interview with Ariel Helwani yesterday. He's going to wrestle Edge. That's who it's going to be.
I figured.
He's talking about the one guy who hasn't got a chance to wrestle, and
yeah,
both getting older. Yeah. And no, I didn't mention wrestling because I thought we were fighting. I mentioned wrestling because it's wrestling.
If you have one or more of these symptoms, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
When you see something you know you don't need, but it's really cool and you can afford to buy it, do you buy it or do you just not and then regret not buying it?
It depends.
Because I did that yesterday. It's something I didn't need. No, I didn't buy it.
Oh, you didn't buy it?
I walked away and I should have.
What did you want to buy?
It was a statue for, it's, but,
Oh, asking ye shall receive, I guess. Rob, your hair is as bad as your broadcasting. I'd tell you go back to Florida, but I'm sure they're glad you're gone and wouldn't take you back anyway. Feel free to go to Big Ten country or anywhere else as long as you're not here anymore. End quote. That one came on the text line during the break. Little scorching white hot on that one, yeah? Why Big Ten country specifically? Why the Midwest specifically? That seems very locked in.
That was kind of a veiled way of saying go home Yankee, even though you're from Florida and not, but that's what I got out of it.
But your hair is as bad as your broadcasting. Oh, what's that? Award winning? Thank you. I appreciate the compliment.
I was just kidding about the thing earlier. Your hair looks fine. I mean, it's the same cut that you usually get when you get a haircut.
Except for it looks like I'm wearing a toupee, have dandruff, and my hair's falling out. Other than that, good luck.
Okay, I'm going to quit trying to apologize. I'm just going to go with it. All right.
I'd tell you go back to Florida, but I'm sure they're glad you're gone and wouldn't take you back anyway. Oh, if only you knew.
You know, let me just say the comments that I made earlier about your hair, that wasn't me. Okay. That doesn't reflect who I am. That's close to a Phil Mickelson
I was gonna
apology
say.
as I can get.
I was gonna say that Phil real genuine. I think. Let's see. Texter says you are both great. Aw, thanks, Texter.
I'm not. I bask in the glow of Rob.
And another texter says y'all's sound is blanked up. Does that mean like the actual sound or the broadcast? Because again, award winning.
Well, there are atmospheric things going on right now, which might be
Also
causing
true.
the signal to I don't know.
But do me a favor. Well, you know what? We hide off. We're gonna run early to a break. When we come back, sorry, I'm throwing Lonzo for a loop. I was gonna play a clip here, but I'm gonna hold it from when we come back. More in the Brian Flores story, including the Miami Dolphins calling Brian Flores a liar. Outright. The story keeps getting more and more incredible, ladies and gentlemen. Plus, where do you fall on the great iPhone v. Android debate, ladies and gentlemen? Because one NBA team is more committed to it than anyone I know. I'll tell you that story coming up in a few minutes as well on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
All right, so this is an odd thing to talk about on the stream, but it's me, so I don't care. Several times now, I've walked into the restroom and it smells like butterscotch, and that's weird. I don't know why it smells like butterscotch in there. I don't want to investigate why it smells like butterscotch, and I shouldn't be complaining because of what it could be smelling like and usually does in there because it's a restroom. But it smells like butterscotch. It's weird. You didn't smell butterscotch.
I did not smell butterscotch.
That's not another one of those signs of aneurysms or stroke or something. Yeah, actually it is, but it's because of arthritis. Should have let that guy pin me, but no, I had to kick out of it. The guy down the hall has candles that he will burn, but it's not actual candles. It's like it's electronic, so it's not, which will smell exactly like chocolate chip cookies. So it could be him.
All right,
but I've only smelled it when I walked into the restroom.
I'm a big fan. So I've got at the house, I've got a wax melter, right? Like, and you put little scented wax cubes in there. So it's like a candle, but you don't have the fire. It just burns the wax. And you can get all kinds of different smells. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you make your house smell like chocolate chip, if you make my office smell like chocolate chip cookies, and no chocolate chip cookies are available, you're a bad person.
Yeah, because it puts you in a bad mood and it makes you hungry.
You're a bad person.
That's why I don't like the slow cooker, because the house smells like food all day. And you just feel hungry all the time. I'm
even okay with that because I know there is food coming at least, right? Like if you make me smell chocolate chip cookies all day and there are no chocolate chip cookies coming, I'm going to be mad.
Let me address Steven real quick. Try out like the DXL store. There's one on 276. The t-shirts are a little more expensive, but I've gotten a couple there that have lasted like a decade.
I'll be real. I get mine at Target. The XL at Target fits me perfect.
I get stuff at Walmart.
And Target's got a good selection of them.
Target's too fancy for me.
All right. Grab me clip number 1. Let's do clip number 1. Brian Flores was on HBO with Brian Gumbel the other day and was asked to go a little bit more in depth about the Miami Dolphins story. Here's what Brian Flores had to say about it.
I was surprised to learn that when you were let go by the Dolphins, that you were asked to sign an NDA, a non-disparagement agreement, and you declined.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, just signing that, separation agreement would have really silenced me.
How much money did you wind up leaving on the table by choosing to not sign that agreement?
A lot.
A good amount of money.
A lot of money.
What's a good amount?
It was millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars.
It was 2 years. It was a contract. And to Coach Flores' credit, he wasn't going to sign that because it wasn't about the money. If it was about the money, he would have signed it. What he did instead was he filed this lawsuit so that he could help other coaches now and in the future.
So Brian Flores now claiming that the Miami Dolphins asked him upon his release to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, non-disparagement agreement, I think Brian Gumbel called it there, but an NDA saying you're not going to talk about what happened here when you leave. And ordinarily when you sign an NDA, it comes with a big old wad of cash, right? We know something happened. You know something happened. If you won't talk about the something that happened, we're going to cut you a fat check. Don't bring it up. Here's a stack of money. Thanks, bye, right? Flores says he didn't sign one. He wasn't going to sign one, which meant that he knew that he was going to be bringing these claims to the forefront from the very beginning, right? I'll tell you what that says to me. I could be wrong here, but what that says to me ultimately is that Brian Flores believed that the story he wanted to tell and the evidence he had to prove that story was more valuable than whatever amount of money the Miami Dolphins were going to give him to not talk about whatever claims he was going to make and to not bring forward whatever evidence he was going to bring forward. Now, does that mean that Brian Flores' story is airtight? No. Does that mean that Brian Flores isn't making something up? No. Of course it does not. But it does mean that in Brian Flores' mind, he has a story that is more compelling than whatever amount of money the Miami Dolphins offer. And again, we don't know what the amount of money that is, right? There are rumors that it was upwards of $1 million. So Brian Flores believes whatever story he has, false or true, was worth more than whatever the Dolphins were going to offer him to not tell that story. It does, to me, make it a little more compelling, right? Now, again, I've told you guys, I think at the end of the day, the most important thing Brian Flores brought forward, the biggest story Flores brought forward, was Stephen Ross offering him 6 figures to throw games. $100K to drop L's on the Dolphins as their head coach. Because that's straight up max fixing. That is immediately an awful claim against the NFL, against an NFL team by Brian Flores. And if it ever comes out to be true, that would be the worst PR situation the NFL has ever had to stare down. The fact that he was willing to turn down money from the Dolphins, the fact that the Dolphins felt compelled to offer him money in the first place, makes it more compelling to me. Again, I'm not saying I believe Brian Flores over the Dolphins. I don't believe the Dolphins over Brian Flores either. I don't believe either party yet. Neither has proven anything to me. But the fact that Flores turned down the money and the Dolphins were willing to pay it makes it very interesting to me. More to say about that later on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
Automotivemap.com presents your ESPN Upstate Sports Center updates powered by The Score. Busy night of college basketball. Clemson back at it as they are going to match up against Wake Forest this evening for South Carolina basketball. They are going to welcome in Mississippi State. South Carolina 7-7 in SEC play. Mississippi State also with that same league record. Other college basketball this evening. Furman, they're going to match up against Samford. We'll have that broadcast for you right here. Wofford returning to the court this evening. They are set to match up against VMI in Lexington and Coastal Carolina. They play at Arkansas State. Coming up tonight, South Carolina Upstate. They are going to play tomorrow when they go on the road for a matchup against Winthrop. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Hawley.
Yes, Stephen, I believe that store, there's one of those at Myrtle Beach at Broadway at the beach where I've gotten a couple of shirts, which were awesome shirts, but you pull the wrong way and your finger goes through the shirt, which has made me mad. I have a Bill and Ted shirt that happened to, and another one. I forget what it was.
How do you feel about reading glasses with colored lenses? I think I'm going to get a pair that are just like the ones I'm wearing, except the frames are clear and the lenses are blue for hockey and soccer games.
When I got my glasses, I looked into that a little bit. They're a little more expensive but my glasses were pretty expensive because apparently they're like trifocals. But they're perfect for things that are really close or really far away. But what I need them for doesn't work because all these screens every room I'm in, the screens are at a different angle. But I looked into getting color and I think they're awesome. But then you put yourself into the Elton John, Bono, those guys who always have colored lenses, which is fine.
Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, you be a part of the show at 844-GSP-ESPN. Preferred Home Services text line's open as well, 71307. Start your texts with ESPN. Texter said, did the agreement work both ways? Did it also mean the Dolphins would not talk about Flores as well? I do not know that. I have not seen the NDA. I've not been able to read the NDA. The only reason that I know the NDA is, well, let me phrase that. The only reason that I have to believe the NDA is available is because Brian Flores said it. And, you can accuse Brian Flores of making stuff up for his lawsuit. That's fine. He's got to prove that he is not, that he is telling the truth, as he is the one making a proof positive claim, right? Remember, in a debate, the person who has to bring evidence to the table is the person making a claim, not the person accepting or denying the claim. If Lonzo says, I own a Lamborghini, I do not have to prove that Lonzo does not own a Lamborghini. Lonzo has to prove that he does if it matters, right? Brian Flores is the one making claims here, making claims about the $100,000 bounty on an L, making claims about discrimination and hiring practices for minority coaches in the NFL. Brian Flores is the one that has to prove these things in order for that claim to hold up in court. So what I would say here is, it'd be pretty damn silly of Brian Flores to lie about an offered NDA from the Miami Dolphins, considering how ridiculous every other claim he has made would become if that was a lie, right? I don't know what the NDA has in it. I don't know if the NDA was a two-way NDA. It doesn't always have to be that way. Again, it's up to both parties whether or not they decide to sign the NDA and adhere to the NDA. So I don't know. I don't know if the Dolphins wouldn't have been able to talk about him. I don't know what the amount of money was. But Brian Flores says it was a lot. Says he forsook a lot of money in order to tell his truth, if you will, after leaving Miami. Texas says, does Lonzo actually own a Lamborghini? We work in radio, so no.
There are some people who work in radio who actually have Lamborghinis.
Yes.
I've heard them on the air. I've never
Yes.
actually met them before.
And they're on many radio stations.
Yes. Now, 5 years from now, when we're syndicated and on multiple stations all across the world, I'm getting me a Lambo.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a goal, just not one that's been accomplished yet. Lonzo, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of phone do you have? You an Android guy, an iPhone guy?
iPhone.
You're an iPhone guy. My lady friend's an iPhone gal. My mom's an iPhone gal. My little brother and I are both on the Android. And I would be lying to you if I didn't acknowledge that sometimes group text can get a little sideways when you've got multiple people in the group text all on different phones, right?
You also can't FaceTime. I mean, so you're missing out on that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to go through like the Facebook Messenger video chat, which means that that video is stored on Facebook servers. Cool. Right? Now, mom and lady friend can FaceTime. Sean and I, little brother and I, we can Google Duo on our Androids, but we can't cross over without going through a third-party app like the Facebook app. So how committed are you to that? I've got friends of mine who will text me aside from group text because they don't want my dirty Android text showing up in their iPhone family chats, right?
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Because all the iMessages that go back and forth are blue, and then my dirty green text pops up and blows the flow of the thread.
I got to say, when someone has an Android phone, I can't help but think, oh, you're one of those.
I think my point's been made. Lonzo, he who accuses me of having a toupee and dandruff, now describes me as, and I quote, one of those, end quote. So it's going great. Also, we're going to definitely have a wrestling segment to make amends later in the show.
You're one of those haughty intellectuals.
Correct.
Yes.
So, how committed are you? To the blue versus green text messages in your thread debate?
Well, I can't believe people are really, who cares what color the text are?
You know who cares? The Cleveland Cavaliers care as a team. How do we know that? Because Jarrett Allen, a young man who plays big man for the Cleveland Cavaliers, had a conversation with the Hoop Collective podcast, which airs on the with Brian Windhorst, airs on The Athletic. Well, they got into a conversation about group messages. And Jarrett Allen of the Cleveland Cavaliers said that his teammates left him out of a group text thread amongst the rest of the Cavs teammates. Quote, sometimes they'd be like, Jay, why weren't you at the event last night? And it's like, what event? I wasn't in the group text because they want all blue messages. The Cavaliers kept him out of the ground, out of the loop, because his green messages mixed up the flow of the blue messages. Unbelievable. Could you imagine? Could you imagine being in a spot where your team around you was like, no, Rob, we will not text you consistently about work projects and other events because your text messages are green and blowing up the flow of our blue text thread. Unreal.
Sounds like trolling or peer pressure or a little bit of both. He could afford to buy a different kind of phone, so he's just choosing to be a contrarian. He's choosing to be different. He's choosing to not be one of the pack. And when you do that, there are repercussions sometimes.
Or, Lonzo, what if I was to tell you that Jarrett Allen is the working man in the NBA that we all say that we want to love, and he actually is that guy, right? Jarrett Allen showed up to an all-star game festivity over the weekend. He made the all-star roster, showed up for an event. Everybody else, well, I gotta get this fixed. Everybody else, Lonzo,
just use some strength on it. Let's see what happens. Let's see if it all comes tumbling down.
That's it. That's all it goes.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody else showed up in their $10,000 designer suits and shoes that cost more than Lonzo and I make in a month combined. Yeah. Jarrett Allen showed up in blue jeans, a gray hoodie, and some Docs. And that's it. That was his outfit. And people started making fun of the guy. So Jarrett Allen, after an all-star practice, got asked, hey, man, how come you don't love rolling up in the designer threads like everybody else? How come you don't like rolling up in designer threads like everybody else? Let me get the sound of this computer, Lonzo, because I have got the sound of Jarrett Allen's answer when Jarrett Allen was asked. All right, cool, never mind. When Jarrett Allen was asked, how come you're not showing up looking like $1 million like the rest of the guys? And Jarrett Allen said, what am I supposed to do? Wear a $5,000 chain? No, I'm good. Jarrett Allen's a working man. Then at the All-Star game, Lonzo, Jarrett Allen, who was a reserve in the All-Star game, went out to the court well before the game started. Not a starter for this game, but went out, found the production guys that were set to put on the event, and asked them if they could fire up and let him take a ride on the platform elevator that the starters were going to come up out of the ground on, right? They were going to Rey Mysterio up from the stage, the 5 starters for the East and the West, or Team LeBron and Team Durant. Jared Allen, who was not a starter, went out, begged a favor from the production company guys to let him roll up in the elevator so that he could see what it would be like to be a starter, to make him work towards the goal of being a starter in the All-Star game next year. I love this guy. I love this guy. He is the most average dude in the NFL, to the point that he showed up in the league and said, I know you're all rolling iPhones. I know your texts are blue, but I already own this and I don't want to go buy another phone. So text me or don't. I don't care. I don't care. That's incredible. I love this guy.
See, this just reminds me of when I went through recording school and everything was done on Mac. And then you go out into the real world and find out that everything is not done on Mac. And that people who use Mac exclusively are looked at as one of those people.
There you go again. There you go again. There's Lonzo. So I gotta tell you, it's rare. You know, we talked about Phil Mickelson earlier.
Why did you choose an Android? I'm just curious.
I chose the Android that I have, which is a Google Pixel, because everything in my life is run through Google now, including
work now.
Everything we do here at the office, right? Now, that's a nice little side benefit that came about later, but everything I do runs through Google. Everything that I do, I coordinate through Google. My calendar is Google. My email is Google. My computer and my phone talk via Google. Everything's on Google. So when Android made a Google phone, that was an easy call for me. My life's already on it. I'm just going to roll with it. Then, as everybody else buys a new iPhone every 3 months to get the newest gen, the Google Pixels, its upgrades is basically, we gave you a slightly better camera, but the phone runs smooth as it gets. So I don't have to buy a new one every 2 years. This is the Google Pixel 5. I think it's been out 2 years and has been a dream for me since I got it. Never will you hear me say the sentence, I bought a brand new cell phone so that my friend's text would be blue instead of green. Do you understand what kind of monster you have to be to go, I would rather not text the guy that I work with than read text on a green background? What kind of psychopath are you? The Cavs left my dude out of their text threads entirely because they didn't want a green message screwing up the flow of their blue ones. That is insanity, ladies and gentlemen. Raw insanity.
That is trolling on the highest level, and as a king of trolls, I appreciate it. I love it. I think that's awesome.
Troll guy is going, you know what? I know I'm not in your group thread because I have green messages. I'm just going to text you all blue message or green messages individually now.
Which he absolutely
You're
should.
still getting my green messages.
I mean, there you go. I mean, mess up the flow if that's on purpose.
But let's not, Lonzo. Let's not for even a second pretend like guy who sends green messages is somehow worse than guys who leave out green message guy because they don't like the color green in their blue text thread. That's like OCD on crack is what that is. All right.
I would love to mention some of the things that are on the stream, but I've been accused of being mean to you already, so I'm not going to do that.
Not accused of, shown to.
All right.
Let's be clear.
Although I will say that the things on the stream, very accurate.
Let's see. Texter says, Androids can FaceTime now. Can they? Did they make that switch? I haven't tried. You know why? Because people on iPhone are like, we don't talk to your kind.
Well, you and I could try it later.
For sure. Texter says, iMessage's group messages allow for people to add other people or leave the group chat if it's too annoying. Can we be honest? There's never been a group chat that's not annoying.
How in the world how do you get out of group chats? I mean, to the point where I've actually texted and said, could you please remove me from the group chat?
You know what you sound like? An Android guy.
No.
That's what you sound like.
No, especially work group chats where you get brought into something that you have no idea what they're talking about, engineering, And it's like, okay, all right, you're just doing this on purpose.
Texter says, if it keeps me out of group text, I'll stay with my Android.
There you go.
Hey, you're an Android guy. Texter says, Android judgment is real amongst the iPhone people. I switched to iPhone recently and I hate it. Can't wait to go back. iPhones are annoying. It's hard to copy and paste. Autocorrect issues much more common, and you cannot set a snooze length that isn't 9 minutes. I got to tell you.
You're finding your people. Good for you.
Oh, yeah. I had an iPhone before I switched to the Google Pixel about 5 years ago, and I cannot tell you how much it set me off that when you hit snooze on the iPhone, the default length was 9 minutes. 9 minutes. Not 10, not 15, not 5, 9.
What do you need snooze for?
Snoozing, primarily. It's one of my favorite things to do.
When alarm goes off, you should get up.
Should. Don't.
Well, then just set it for 10 minutes further ahead. What do you need snooze for?
Dude, it's a process for me to get
I don't understand snooze.
Process.
And yeah, I don't get it.
It's a process. How long between the alarm going off and you getting out of bed is there?
It depends.
Are you one of those like, bonk, let's go?
I think you know that I'm very regimented and I do kind of the same things the same way every day, which allows me the freedom to just go crazy.
How long does it take you to get out of bed?
My alarm is set to go off at 7 a.m.
And you're up by?
I listen to the news, so I'm up by 7:04. I can jump right up at 7, but I listen to the news because I want to know if the world's on fire, and if it is, I'm just going back to sleep.
Takes you 4 minutes to decide if the apocalypse is
I'm listening to
Got
the
it.
needs.
Got it.
I'm listening to the news.
Texter says, or they left him out because no one likes Jared Allen.
It could be that too. It absolutely could be that.
Could you imagine that being the excuse that your amigos use to get out of a conversation with you? Yeah, Rob, no. It's not you. It's just that we don't like green. It's a green thing, man. I could change the theme on my phone, but I just want my messages blue and you give me green. So we can't hang out anymore.
There's someone in every workspace that everybody hates. That's just how it goes.
I'm saying, if they give you the explanation that you're not involved in the group thread because your texts are blue, you're not part of the group, pal. They don't want you in the group thread.
There have been many a times when I've went to the powers that be and said, I wasn't on that email. Oh, yes, you were. I was not. And then they found out I wasn't. And then there was kind of a look like, oh, no, he found out. So, I mean, there's that.
Texter says, blue messages are very important. My 68-year-old dad added 25 people to a political group text. Church, work, friends, maybe a few knew each other. A couple of things, and I don't say this with any disrespect to your 68-year-old dad. If you include me in a 25-person political/religious text group,
yeah, you're in trouble. You've added the wrong guy
you already. And here's the
but
worst.
You would participate in that. You wouldn't ignore it.
One of two things happen. Number one, I immediately leave the group and I never talk to that person again. Or number two, Lonzo, I'm about to piss some people off.
Yeah, I think
one or the other.
I think the latter is what's going to happen
One or the
there.
other.
Yeah.
If you invite me to that, I am either going to never talk to you again, or I am going to alienate you from your entire friend group. One or the other. Texter says, imagine that Liberob loves communist Android instead of American iPhone. I don't think you know how phones work or where they come from, Texter.
I want to say America, but that's not. That wouldn't work here.
Here's the second part of that text. Sorry. My 68-year-old dad added 25 people to a political group text, church, work, friends. Maybe a few knew each other. Everyone kept texting, take me off this thread, but no one can leave because my dad has Android. You have just given me all kinds of bad ideas, Texter. You really have.
But
you're telling me I can prison half of my friends into a group thread that they can't leave because I have Android and they can't get out? Oh, I am so excited.
All right, I'm jumping in and doing what I said I wouldn't do earlier. You never answer anyone's text, so it's not really a threat.
Texas says, Rob sounds like a head coach. Lonzo and I still have all of our radio goals in front of us this season. We've set some high goals and we're confident we can attain them. Yes, correct. There's another banquet coming up in July, September,
August,
one of those. And Lonzo and I would
love. It's a summer month.
Would love to come back and double up on the amount of trophies that we have. That is correct. Texter says you can never escape a mixed iPhone Android group message. It just exists forever. Another texter says, Lonzo's world's on fire. How about yours? That's the way he likes it, and he'll never get bored. Hey now, Zoe's an all-star. Get your game on. Go executive produce. Texter says I missed you, texter. Most alarm clock snoozes are 9 minutes. If one still uses an alarm with an O clock. First off, my phone is my alarm clock. My phone is my alarm clock.
I hate when you do that. You sound like you're from Michigan. It just it bothers me.
And when I snooze my alarm clock, it snoozes for 10 minutes because that's a nice, rounded, not psychopathic number to default to. Who says I could use another 9 minutes?
Who says I could use one more minute? I mean, if you're snoozing, you really can tell the difference between 9 minutes and 10 minutes. I know I can. Well, you can. You've been in radio for a long time, but still.
When you're in your car and you set the volume, does it have a number like volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, volume 4, volume 5?
I don't. In my car, I just tell it to turn up.
1%er. Let's take a break on the Rob Brown Show. Actual sports when we come back. And also, androids are superior. Back after this. It's ESPN Upstate.
I was wondering if Katie really knew you, and once she pointed out you never answer your text, then I knew that she knew you. You didn't look.
Oh, hello, Katie. Welcome in.
There's been a couple of times I've been completely shocked. I've texted Rob and immediately got an answer back, and I'm like, whoa, something is wrong here.
Here's how it works for me. I answer your text immediately, or I do not answer the text. And it's not that, like, I don't want to.
It's just that it's not important.
That I have nothing to say. No.
It.
It's not even that it's not important. It's that whatever I'm doing at the moment you text me is more important than texting you back, which is not a bad thing. People have lives going on. And that if I don't do it immediately, I just forget. You will occasionally get a reply text from me at like 2:45 in the morning. And that's because I am scrolling my phone one last time before I go to sleep. And I'm like, oh, damn, I never texted Lonzo back. And that's when you get that text.
I've never received a text from Rob at 2:45 in the morning, which means he just, none of my texts are important. So I see how that goes. Or that he respects the fact that he knows I'm asleep. That could be it.
I will not text people if I know they're asleep.
Or the fact that I just turn my phone off when I go to bed anyway.
But I honestly, I didn't know that until right this very second. I don't text people that I know are asleep. Like the lady friend, if I go out at night and she's home by herself, I know she goes to sleep about 9:30. So if it's like 11:30, I'm not going to text her unless it's because if I need to get in touch with you at 11:30 to the point that I'm willing to wake you up, I'm going to call you, right? That means something's going wrong. I'm going to call you.
Plus, you can tell if I'm up or not. Just turn your Xbox on.
Also true.
Now, there's a chance that I'm asleep with the controller in my hand, but I'm on there.
Don't assume that steroid shots, pain pills, and surgery are your only options. You can now get real, lasting, life-changing relief from QC Kinetics. Hey everybody, it's Dr. James. QC Kinetics is the nation's...
Yeah, but he's on the air right now, and, that's the reason why he's ignoring it.
All right, first off, it's my mother that's texting me because I'm a 36-year-old man. Judge me.
I think that's awesome. I wish my mom was texting me right now.
Second off, I surprised the lady friend, technically, surprised my mom with tickets to see the Eagles when they're here in town. And she has texted me to tell me that her plane tickets to fly up here to see the Eagles are confirmed. Here's the other thing that will prevent me from texting. And this is one thing that has caused more fights between me and Courtney than anything else. Both in my real life and in text, Lonzo, if I don't have anything to add to your conversation, I don't say anything, right? I don't feel the need. If someone says something that I don't have a response to, I don't feel the need to respond to it, right? Like if somebody goes, oh, the weather sure is nice, I don't immediately go, yeah, 72 and sunny. That's beautiful. I just go, yeah.
Look at Twitter. Something has been confirmed that I said to you when I talked about the dark side.
What am I looking at here?
9 just replied to a tweet that you put out, a political tweet.
Oh, you're at the wrong end of the building? Yeah. Scranton is trending. So either something's happened with The Office or Joe Biden done pissed somebody off, one or the other.
It could be both.
True.
So I might ask this tomorrow on Fight Club, but how long will it take before WWE decides to change Gunther's name back to Walter? Watching NXT, they just chant Walter the entire time.
I told you they were going to.
Yeah.
I told you they were going to. Sometimes they can't get out of their own way. The day they change a name, I'm like, I just want you to know the NXT fans are just going to chant Walter at him until he changes it.
I think it's Michael Bivens is calling him Gunny. I think so. What if they did it just so people would chant that way? What if they're trolling? I know you don't want to give them that kind of credit. I do. I can just see sitting around in the writer's room, you and I going, you know what? Let's try this and see if this works. There's got to be someone in there who does that.
Let's go to clip 2 here, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Sounds like the robocall we had earlier. I love robocalls.
Steven, I'm going to be live for the second half. I'm doing a trivia game for the first half, but I'll be live for the second half of that game. So I'll throw some tweets up about it. Bret Hart is trending.
Yeah, I can't figure out why. But again,
sometimes things trend just because people were already trending them. Oh.
now I'll have to wait.
I figured it out.
Okay.
I'll tell you next break. All right, the Rob Brown Show's back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, you, 844-GSP-ESPN. So yesterday at the end of the show, I talked a little bit about Zion Williamson down in New Orleans, Louisiana, where he was expected to be the guy who helped put the Pelicans on the map. And I'll tell you what the worst part about this is for me as a Pelicans fan, and then I'm going to talk about Zion for a minute. The worst thing about this for me as a Pelicans fan is the roster that they've built is pretty good. It's pretty good. CJ McCollum's one of the best 30 players in the NBA right now. Brandon Ingram is the best number 2 player in the game right now. And a guy that can do it by himself at number 1. But if he was to be partnered up with a guy like, I don't know, take a stab at it, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram would be one of the best players in the league. And I'm going to tell you right now, For all the talk about the Portland Trailblazers with Dame Lillard the last couple of years, if Zion Williamson was playing right now, he would have more support on the roster in New Orleans than Dame Lillard has had at all in Portland. And people have been very disappointed that Dame time has not been able to take that team over the hump. Zion be more set up in New Orleans, I think, than Dame Lillard ever has been in Portland. And there's something to be said for that. But it turns out, and this may shock you a little bit, you can't win basketball games if you don't play. It's kind of a minor detail. So Zion, through whatever course of action you believe happened, there are some people who believe that Zion is lengthening his own injury by not listening to the medical staff of the Pelicans, getting surgeries that would help, etc., conducting his own physical therapy back in Oregon, where he has effectively been all season long without engaging with the Pelicans.
So he's not pulling a James Harden. He really is hurt.
No, I mean, he's definitely banged up. But the Pelicans are like, yo, if you come down here, we can put the resources of this team who has invested, itself in you to get you healthy. And Z's like, no. My guys up here in Oregon know what's best for me, and hasn't showed up. So we took a little heat because on trade deadline day, the Pelicans went out and made a move that surprised everybody when they gave up a couple of young pieces to bring CJ McCollum down from Portland. Good point guard, probably, again, top 30, 32 player in the league. Bring down CJ to play the point, allow BI to open up, not have to be on ball so often, work off the ball, which he's very good at, which would inevitably open the floor up for Zion Williamson if he ever showed back up. Well, Zion apparently never called CJ McCollum. Hey, man, welcome to NOLA. Welcome to the team. Great to have you. I'm the face of the organization. Looking forward to working with you. Never called him, never reached out, never said anything to him. The Pelicans, interestingly enough, sent out Lonzo their promotional material to get the ball moving on selling season tickets in New Orleans for next season. You know who was not mentioned one time in their marketing material? Zion Williamson. They didn't have his picture. They didn't have his name. They didn't have a reference to him. Nothing. The Pelicans are not marketing Zion Williamson. Can you imagine any NBA team just flat out not marketing the biggest name on their team? Not a great look.
It sends a message, especially when he is or should be the face of the team. But if he ain't there, he ain't there.
Yeah.
So that just shows they have no confidence in him ever being there, probably.
Yep. Now, I said yesterday, I think something happened here. I think something happened. Through his time at Duke, when like every Duke game was on at primetime because Zion Williamson was the future. Through his time getting drafted in New Orleans, playing in that first COVID bubble, getting the Pelicans into the play-in tournament and all that, or close to it. Zion has been called the future. The problem is, in order to be the future, you've got to be the present. And Zion Williamson ain't. He ain't the present. You got to be present to be the present. And right now, he ain't present and he ain't the present. And it's a problem. Now, J Reddick. All you know him, some of you love him, some of you hate him. J Reddick, who, remember, was teammates with Zion Williamson his rookie year in New Orleans. JJ was on that roster. JJ was on ESPN with Stephen A. Smith, and he had some stuff to say about Z. Here's JJ Reddick.
This just shows a complete lack of investment in your team, in the organization, in the city. I get that he's hurt and away from the team, but you just traded for one of the 50 best players in the league, a guy that's supposed to be paired with you. Reach out and say hello. This is a pattern of behavior with Zion that we are seeing again and again. And look, I was his teammate. I can describe him as a detached teammate. That is an accurate statement. This is basic level of humanity being a teammate. send a text to a guy when he gets traded to your team. That is just normal behavior. That's the bar minimum that you have to do. And the Pelicans yesterday sent out an email for season tickets for next year. Guess who wasn't in the email? Whose name was not in the email? Zion's. Like, what the heck is going on in New Orleans, Stephen A? This is something I addressed with Zion in front of the team. Okay? So this is going back to his rookie year. There's a responsibility that you have as an athlete when you play a team sport to be fully invested. You're fully invested in your body, you're fully invested in your work, and you're fully invested in your teammates. That is your responsibility. And we have not seen that from Zion. Yes, he's been amazing when he's been on the court. 100%. Yeah. He's amazing to watch. There's no one that can do what he does on a basketball court. There isn't. There isn't. The sheer level of force and athleticism and skill, it's amazing. 100%. But as a teammate, there's a pattern of behavior. As a fully invested individual in New Orleans, there is a pattern of behavior. This is worrisome. And I totally agree with you. Like, New Orleans is going to have to make some sort of decision here. We've seen this now for 3 years.
That, Lonzo, as a Pelicans fan, doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good. Yesterday, I went onto an NBA message board, and this is one of the big talks about it, right? Because J Reddick has been a dude with his podcast and everything that's kind of got a good rap amongst NBA fans the last couple of years for his takes. And folks on there are supporting what J Reddick is saying, to the point that I saw New York Knicks fans saying, I feel bad for the Pelicans, right? With what happened with CP3, generational player, comes in there, gives a few good years, makes a run at the playoffs, and says, screw this, I'm out. I don't want to be a small market guy. Anthony Davis comes in, gives it a few good years, makes the playoffs, gets some results, and then says, screw this, I don't want to be a small market guy. And then comes Zion Williamson after the Pelicans win the lottery for the number 1 pick. And the difference between CP3, AD, and Big Z is very simple. The first two, Lonzo, tried, right? They showed up. They laced them up. They tried. CP3 took it to the second round in the West. AD took it to the second round in the West. Z is not engaged. He's not talking to his teammates. He's not talking to his coaches. He's not talking about the team. Dude is effectively doing what everybody has been beating up on Ben Simmons for doing, right? Sitting out and going, I don't really want to do it. And I'm not going to talk to anybody. He is effectively doing a Ben Simmons light, and everybody's just letting him off the hook. And I don't get why.
It bothers me when people, well, this is the face of the team for whatever team, they automatically expect them to be a leader. Some people are not leaders. Some people don't reach out. They just don't do that. Sometimes you lead by example, which he's not doing with his injury. But I don't think you can just expect someone to come in and do all those things if they've never done it. And we don't know if he has or not. But I don't recall ever hearing, Zion, what a great team leader. He does this, he does this. I don't recall hearing anything other than he plays basketball. So I think if you expect someone to be something that they're not and then condemn them for not being that, I think that's kind of on you.
Dude, I don't need you to be a leader. Not everybody is a leader. If everybody was a leader, they wouldn't be called leaders. I don't need everybody to be a leader. You know what I need you to do? I just need you to be invested. Like JJ said, I don't need Zion to be the leader of the Pelicans if he doesn't want to be. Although I don't see why he wouldn't be. And if you ever want to be a Kobe or a LeBron or a Mike or hell, an Anthony Davis or a CP3, you have to be a leader. Those guys didn't get to where they are because they're not leaders. Name me an all-time NBA great who was not considered a leader. You can't do it. But even if he didn't want to be a leader, even if he couldn't be a leader, right? Take somebody special to be a leader. Even if he couldn't be a leader, as JJ said, I just need you invested. I need you invested. I need you flying down to games. I need you calling an NBA all-star caliber player who just got traded to your team to talk to him about what the future is. I need you on the horn with BI going, hey man, work on this for when I get back because I want to put it in. I need you calling Gail Benson and going, hey Gail, here's my update. Here's where I am. Here's how I feel. Here's what's going on. I just need you invested. I need you bought in. And I'm kind of not cool with Zion getting off the hook for effectively being selfish and just kind of living his own life in the bubble elsewhere when he has an obligation to the contract he signed in New Orleans, being selfish in Oregon, not investing himself in the team until he gets called to the floor. When guys like Ben Simmons and James Harden are getting dragged for what they do, Zion deserves to be dragged for this. I said it before. I'll say it again.
Has management spoken out? As the management, as the ownership said he's not doing these things?
They can't. And the reason that they can't is very simple. Because you already know that Zion's the type of guy that gets out the minute his rookie deal is over, right? And he goes to LA or he goes to New York or he goes to Chicago and he goes to a big market so he can make that money away from basketball. You already know you are going to win a lot. You win a lottery to stumble into a Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those guys are 1 in a million. You win a lotto to stumble into that. If they want to turn Zion Williamson into a guy who goes, you know what? I'm cool being a small market guy and I'm cool with being the face of the Pelicans and I'm going to bring them a title. You can't tick him off. You can't call him out for being lazy or selfish or non-committed or non-invested. You can't call him out for it because if he takes any slight, he goes, you know what? I'm just going to sit out my rookie contract. I'm going to sit out the rest of it. I got enough money. I'm good. And that's a problem. That's what dooms a small market franchise in the NBA. He's being selfish. J Reddick's right. He's not invested. And I know he's from here, but I don't know why we don't call him out for it. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
So Keegan brought somebody up, and I had someone in mind too. Keegan's is
terrible time to tune back in.
No,
I saw the ramen take.
And mine was also with the Bulls, Scottie Pippen.
I think Scottie Pippen was.
Oh no!
I just think nobody could be a leader more than Michael Jordan. At the end of the day, in basketball, who's the leader of every team, Lonzo? The best player, right? The guy putting up 50 a game is the leader. And I just need you to be in. I just need you to be invested. And he's being lazy and selfish.
As for trade or retire, NBA Cavaliers promoting assistant GM Mike Yancey to general manager. He replaces Kobe Altman, now the president of basketball operations in Cleveland. 39-year-old Yancey has played a key role in the team's renaissance. The Cavs are currently fourth in the Eastern Conference.
There's nothing worse than coming home on a cold day to find out that your heater isn't working. When this happens, you need an HVAC company you can trust. A company like Priority Heating and Air. Their HVAC specialist will give your system a thorough checkup. And if you need a new unit, Priority Heating and Air is a proud distributor of put-in-line HVAC systems. Keep your family or business warm this winter and give Priority Heating and Air a call today at 591-1800.
I'd like to thank everybody for the concerted effort to make sure that Rob didn't yawn anymore. It definitely worked because after the first segment, he's had energy. He's just been angry. I think he had to tinkle. Keegan.
Remove tomato sauce from inside our microwave and soap scum off the bathtub. It's like seriously magic.
No, I yelled things in the door when I yelled Keegan. I always yell something on my way out the door. It's tradition. I was throwing away the birthday cake I brought to share with everybody because Steven said my shirt's too tight now. Self-conscious.
He didn't bring it to share with everybody. He brought it to eat.
I did not. I said it in the middle of the desk. I pointed it out to you and Chris.
There was never an offer.
There absolutely was.
All right, there was an offer to Chris.
There was a
Prism in the next break. What kind of cake was it?
It's a vanilla birthday cake.
If I say no to the offer, it's not because it just came now. It didn't come earlier like you said it did.
It. I'm gonna set up a camera, security camera in our office.
Dude, there's already one in there. There's 2 cameras in there. If you think about it. You don't think engineering couldn't just turn those on? And we wouldn't notice the light?
It's also AutoZone's national hiring event. We're hiring all positions, from sales to warehouse and drivers, both part-time and full-time. Visit careers.autozone.com or any one of our stores.
Steven, that could imply something that could get you in trouble.
No. My shirt didn't shrink. I did the opposite. It is what it is. I'm working on it, though. I'm in Keegan's wedding in like 2.5 weeks, and I need to drop like 10 pounds between now and then.
I'm sure everyone on the stream would encourage you to do jumping jacks during breaks. I mean,
I promise you they wouldn't. You'd all get seasick. And I'd probably shake the camera off the mount.
Yeah, that glass would fall for sure. Right?
All right, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's ESPN Upstate. Texter says, weren't there rumors about Zion not being a good teammate at Duke, and in high school they questioned his commitment? That's from Big D. I don't know about the high school portion of it, right? I obviously was not around here at that point. I don't know if any.
But
of you
that
guys
always
were
had
that
to that always had to do with his weight, though. I thought.
Yeah, and look, he still got he had questions about his weight at Duke, got questions about his weight in New Orleans, and it's weird because Zion kind of yo-yos, right? Zion will show up at the gym one day and look like the Hulk. And then Zion will show up in a picture a couple of days later and looks like he didn't buy a Popeyes chicken franchise. He ate one, right? Like, and trust me, as a dude who was literally making fun of myself for yo-yoing in weight, because I do. I get up to 260 like I am now, and then next summer you'll catch me and I'll be at 215. And then the next winter I'm back at 260. I get it. That struggle's tough, right? The difference is I'm not getting paid because of how I look. Doesn't hurt. But I'm not getting paid because of how I look. I'm getting paid because of how I sound. The radio iteration of that, Lonzo, would be if every day after the show, I went downstairs and threw back a pack of heaters, right? If every day I went downstairs and just started cranking cigarettes outside the back door and jacking my vocal cords, when people have invested in me and how I sound on the radio.
Yeah, that's an FM DJ music kind of thing.
Coming up next, we talk about Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans.
Thank you for not doing what you could have, which would have been coming from further back.
Yeah.
And that would have been.
The point is that would be the equivalent, right? And there are people who are concerned about that. Zion shows up looking kind of hefty and not in the good way every now and then. There were questions about it at Duke. There have been questions about it since he got to New Orleans. And I guess that's exactly the point. I'm not saying I need Zion to look like he's Mark Ruffalo's CGI stunt double in the Avengers movies. I am saying you are getting paid a lot of money by a franchise that has invested a lot in you to be the best basketball player you can be. I don't like AD in the way he left New Orleans, but one thing I can give AD credit for, the dude busted his ass when he was in New Orleans. CP3, I'm not mad at how CP3 left, right? I'm not upset about CP3 wanting out of New Orleans. That dude did everything he could do, and the Pelicans just did not build around him. The best they gave him was a guy named Robert Tractor Trailer. And, who was the other dude they had? The other big man they had? Tyson, I forget. But I think that's the point, right? That's the best they gave those guys. They wanted out. I get it. But they busted it in the meantime. Zion can't take 10 minutes to call CJ McCollum and go, welcome to New Orleans. You got any questions? He can't fly down to New Orleans to be at every third Pelicans game to show up. How excited does that fan base get in if Zion walks into the building and just hypes up the crowd during a halftime game of a halftime show of a close game, right? Just grab a mic, New Orleans. They'll lose their minds. People who buy tickets just to be in the same building as you, but you can't even show up. Can't even show up. So to answer your question, Texter, no. It's not unfair to question him. It's not unfair to criticize him. I know it's kind of tough when a guy comes from your own backyard, right? When he's one of yours, to criticize the guy. But it's absolutely fair. And it will stay fair until he shows he's committed to the team that has invested as much as New Orleans has invested in him. Because if it goes wrong with him, the Pelicans are donezo for a while. Back after this to wrap up hour 2 on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
Prisma.
The madness begins here. Make sure you're at the Harris Cherokee Center in Asheville, North Carolina, March 3rd through 7th for the Eagles 2022 SoCon Basketball Championships. You don't want to miss the action as your favorite SoCon teams compete for a championship and a berth in the NCAA tournament. Book your travel and tickets by logging on to SoConHoops.com or by contacting the Harris Cherokee Center Asheville box office. The madness begins in Asheville. Get your tickets today. Hearing David back with Travis Benson, owner of CNT Foundations. Foundation problems are headaches.
It's very difficult for me to not imitate and make fun of things sometimes.
Like?
Well, I'm not going to say because I remember we're on stream and it's a bad move on my part. Restraint and tact are a wonderful thing. Although I'm finding as I get older, I almost forget. It's commercials, not people. That's want to clarify.
I picked up on that, or at least hoped that was the case.
Yeah, because people will read things into things. Stephen has somewhat apologized to you on in a way.
As a fellow big boy, we stand in solidarity. Well, we really sit out of breath in solidarity.
Hims offers the same medication you get from your doctor, but without the expensive appointments or awkward face-to-face conversations. And with Hims, every online visit is free. New relationship, right back on track. For a free online consultation, go to forhims.com/joy. That's forhims.com/joy for your free visit. forhims.com/joy. From executive producers of Lost.
Everyone needs to sign for the highway.
He doesn't need to sign. A new Netflix original series. It's important for you to understand what happens after dark. You're telling me I can't leave and that every night monsters come from the forest.
You saw those things outside. Even I can come.
These people I'm sure really good. Watch now only on FX. Get control of the app. Finally, a bed that Simpson Storm and
So I'm seeing a ton of things about Elden Ring. I'm kind of want to buy it, but at the same time, I know it's the kind of game I'd never beat. But the graphics and everything look awesome. I guess I could just watch someone else playing it.
Yeah, I was talking to Aaron, who cuts my hair, earlier today. I said, it's funny. I used to be the guy who was very adamantly against watching people play video games on like Twitch. But then I go watch people play because I want to see what happens in the game without playing it.
Especially a game you're never going to play.
Exactly. All right, putting a nice little bow on our numero dos here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Coming up in hour number 3. A lot of good news about NASCAR the last couple of weeks. Big bump in the clash at the Coliseum. Not great news in the ratings for the Daytona 500 itself. I got a couple of thoughts about why. I'll tell you about that. Plus, the worst ... funniest injury you've heard of in a while. Not funny to the guy who got it. Funny to the rest of us out of the Winter Olympics, and the announcement of a partnership between the XFL and the NFL. What does that mean for that league, and will it make it more successful than the USFL? That more coming up in hour 3 of the Rob Brown Show next on ESPN Upstate. Nailed it.
That is why I am award-winning and stuff. I know we keep talking about the little project that we're going to do on Thursdays. I've been listening to other people's podcasts, and some of them are national with big names, and they're not that good.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is not, I know the ones that I consider good. I'm going to go ahead and say it, and people can figure it out. Jericho's podcast is excellent.
Yeah.
But he doesn't just stick to wrestling. He does a bunch of other stuff. But when he talks wrestling, it's amazing. New Day was great, but they haven't done one in forever. And I think politics have come into play, and the fact that injuries, and that probably more than anything, it's Xavier Woods being so busy with G4 TV.
Yeah.
But some of the more like Busted Open, I've tried like the last couple of days. It's not that good, and I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointed.
Want to do an episode of the Fight Club podcast tomorrow? Or as Keegan proposed, the Cup of Haters podcast?
Yeah, we can't do that. I mean, but we can.
I don't think Cup of Haters is trademarked.
Yeah, it is. If it's on a T-shirt, it's trademarked. I have the T-shirt, so it's definitely trademarked.
Fair enough. Start the Fight Club podcast tomorrow. I'm sure somebody's already got a Fight Club podcast, but ours will be better.
I used to have a wrestling podcast, which was ESPN Inside the Ropes, and Inside the Ropes is done, or ESPN Upstate Inside the Ropes. So, I mean, we'll figure out a name later.
Speaking of podcast, I may, fingers crossed, have us an interview coming up with a relatively well-known podcast who also may be the Friday Night SmackDown color play.
Really?
I emailed their producer today, and he wrote me back and said that he can't promise anything, but he'd look at his schedule over the next 2 weeks and see if there was a time he'd be available to record one with us. I think it'd be cool to have him on. I think we'd have fun with that. I know I'd have a blast with that.
No, that's not it.
It would be
If I was paying attention enough to get who you were saying, yeah, dude,
be cool.
Yes.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is ESPN Upstate. Aaron Rodgers is just a troll now, right? Like he just decided to lean into it, right? That's what happened, right? Has to be.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I hope that's what it is.
Gotta be. I think Aaron Rodgers got to the point.
If you've watched him, there's this look on his face now. He no longer pretends. Some people would consider smug that I just consider like, watch what I'm going to do now. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
So Aaron Rodgers earlier this week put up this big long Instagram post. And on the Instagram post, he talked about like being grateful and thanked his now ex-fiance for allowing him to chase her and eventually catch her and learn a whole bunch of things about life and love before they went their separate ways, and thanked some of his Packers teammates for various reasons, etc. And of course, everybody immediately jumped to, he's out. He's gone. Leaving Green Bay, maybe retiring, who knows, but he's done. And then Aaron Rodgers, achieving a troll rating of expert, goes on McAfee's show yesterday, and McAfee's like, all right, bro, you know you got to talk about it. You know you got to tell us what the deal was with that post. What was the deal with the post? And Rodgers said, I went on a 12-day cleanse, and I just wanted to talk about it, right? Didn't say anything about a 12-day cleanse in his IG post. On his IG post, he said, thanks to you, and this is great, and I, live, laugh, love, LOL, and whatever else he said. That's paraphrase, not a quote. But he puts up this big, long post about how he's grateful, and thanks to my fiance, for my ex-fiance, for teaching me all about life and love, and thanks to my teammates for the time we've spent together. And it was textbook I'm out IG post, right? A textbook thanks for the memories, see y'all down the road a bit IG post. McAfee gets him on the air on his weekly segment that he does with A-Rod of the Football Persuasion and says, lay it out, man. What was that post about? And A-Rod says, well, I went on a 12-day juice cleanse and I was just feeling really good about it and wanted to let people know. I think A-Rod of the Football Persuasion just is done, right? Could not give less of a boat about how anybody thinks about him moving forward. He didn't care through the great vaccination debate. Got called out for either lying or lying via omission about his vaccination status. Didn't care about the A-Rod is laying down on his team talk. Doesn't care about what the Packers front office has to say about him. A-Rod of the Football Persuasion does not give a boat about any of that. Any of it at all, period. And that interview on McAfee show yesterday, Lonzo, was troll level expert. A+, fantastic performance if you appreciate the art of trolling, which Aaron Rodgers is a master at.
I completely agree, but there could be something else. You go on a 10-day cleanse. If he actually did go on said
12 days.
12 days. I'm sorry. You're weak and probably not thinking too clearly, as opposed to the opposite of thinking very clearly. You don't eat food for 12 days. You just, no.
He said that his 12-day cleanse included eating only certain things, drinking only certain things, not taking in any poisons or toxins, having a reconnection with his spirituality.
You know what this is also, probably more so than anything, and you hit upon it, the trolling is people have painted him into a certain corner, and it sounds like he's going all in and going as crazy far in a direction as he possibly can just to bother people who can't stand people who are in that direction.
The only way that gets better is if he ends it with, and also I'm a Wiccan, namaste. That's the only way that post gets more hilarious, right? And don't get me wrong, I'd like to say,
did you just put witchcraft and yoga in the same
Wiccan
thing?
is not witchcraft. That's different. It's a different thing. And also, witches aren't real. And your
I disagree.
Astrological signs are irrelevant because they're also not real.
Witches are real. It doesn't mean that they actually can perform witchcraft, but they are real. There are people out there who identify as witches.
Sure. And I identify as a millionaire.
But now
Doesn't make me one.
Now I just hear JB Smooth in Spider-Man. Witches, man. Witches.
We are so able to go off the rails without even trying. Yeah. The only way A-Rod's post gets better is if he ended it with a namaste and an ad for some holistic juice, you know?
While wearing a MAGA hat.
That would
have took it. Yeah, that would have did it.
So I don't know, man. I don't like. I look. I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan. All right, I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan for reasons that I'm sure you can all come up with based on this conversation.
Get those texts ready.
Yeah, fire them off. Liberob the woke warrior is ready for you. There are reasons I'm not an A-Rod fan. Sure. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to give credit to people you don't like for doing something wizard. And Aaron Rodgers just did it. Aaron Rodgers trolled America with that post, right? And somebody yesterday said, I saw it on social media. Somebody was like, I blame the media. They blew this thing up. They blew this story up. Well, of course they did, right? Could you imagine being the guy that saw A-Rod of the Football Persuasion's text yesterday, his IG post, or 2 days ago, didn't report on it, didn't talk about it, didn't read on it, and then Aaron Rodgers comes out the next day and goes, yeah, screw Green Bay, I'm out.
He is, and there are some others out there, and soon will be more, I'm sure, playing the tendencies that we've got to be first media is, and having fun with it. Because especially in a position that he's in, he could do this every day if he wanted to.
100%.
And eventually it may get tired and old to some people. It won't get tired and old to sports media because they can't take the chance of missing out on the scoop and being first.
Well, here's the other aspect of it. From a football perspective, it's a huge story, right? Because where A-Rod straps it up next year is going to be a gigantic story. Whether it's stay in Green Bay, whether it's go to Tampa Bay and replace Tom Brady, right? There's drama in everywhere he ends up. There could be drama in him staying in Green Bay and the relationship between him and the team. There would be drama in him going to Tampa. Can he elevate? Can he build more of his own legacy on top of what Tom Brady left behind? There would be drama if he went to New Orleans. Sean Payton's not there anymore. Saints will have a quarterback. Could Dennis Allen and remaining OC Pete Carmichael take Sean Payton's system and what they learn and succeed with Aaron Rodgers, right? There's drama anywhere that 12 straps it up next year, no doubt about it. So you have to talk about it. You have to report about it. And Aaron Rodgers knows that. Aaron Rodgers knows that if he farts the wrong way at a Kroger, it becomes a story, right? Somebody at BuzzFeed's going to write the story. 10 reasons we believe that A-Rod's flatulence means he's a Buccaneer next year. They'd write it. They'd come up with it. They'd figure it out. So, of course, it's a story.
I used to work at Kroger. It's a common occurrence. Trust me.
I have no doubt. So look, when it comes down to it, Aaron Rodgers is arguably the biggest offseason story. A back-to-back National Football League MVP quarterback who has made no secret that he's not a big fan of his team, although he did say they had a meeting with ownership and it was very productive, right? He said, we're in a better place. We had a meeting. We chatted. We talked. We got some stuff done. We're in a better place than we were a few days back. I got news. That's still a story. Still a story. But the primary story here is that Aaron Rodgers, if you need a masterclass in trolling, Aaron Rodgers is to trolling as Gordon Ramsay is to cooking. Pretty good at it and wildly entertaining as long as you don't take it too seriously. Absolutely phenomenal. Brought him on with McAfee, and Pat said, what about the post? And he went, I was on a juice cleanse. What do you want? Just good stuff. I had to tell you, Lonzo, I've been in this game about a decade and a half now, right? About a decade and a half. And you see people come up with all kinds of crazy ways to get people to stick around and listen, right? You see people straight up make up and lie about stories and go, I'm going to tell you the truth when we come back. And they lie to you to keep you around.
According to sources.
Yes. You hear people all the time. I've got sources that say, I can't tell you who they are or what they do or why they have to be anonymous, but I've got sources that say crazy thing why. Tell you about that coming up on the other side of the break. Me and Lonzo's style is, have you liked the last 15 minutes? Stick around for the next 15 because it's going to be that too. Everybody's got their style. I've seen them all. I've seen lies. I've seen exaggeration. I've seen comedy. I've seen them all. I've seen 100 different ways that guys try to get you to stick around and listen. In the 15 years and all the different ways that I have seen people come up with creative, inventive ways to get people to stick around and listen more, never has one of them ever come up with as good of a way as Aaron Rodgers going, yeah. Remember that thing that the entire sports world was talking about yesterday? You know what brought that about? I was gluten and carb free. Namaste. That is A+ trolling from Aaron Rodgers, y'all. A+ trolling from Aaron Rodgers. Let's take a break. When we come back, noted not a man, Dwayne The Rock Johnson made an announcement about his connection with the XFL and the NFL earlier in the week. And I'll tell you why. It's actually a really good thing. Not for the XFL, not for the NFL, but for us football fans. That's next on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Namaste. Pardon me, America. I am so sorry.
Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
Have you heard Offsides with Mark Ryan?
Coming up on a Hump Day episode of Offsides with Mark Ryan.
Let's say something on Twitter. I've never seen this happen, but it wouldn't shock me. It only lasts 20 seconds. Now, if that's me playing, that car lands on top of it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Arthritis developed and the pain was unbearable. It wasn't just pain when I was trying to play sports. It was anytime I moved to the right elbow. It's pretty excruciating. That's when Jose discovered QC Kinetics and the regenerative treatments that help the body heal itself, restoring damaged tissue and providing relief with no surgery or downtime. Jose's message to the medical professionals at QC Kinetics.
Is this the anniversary of the screw job or something? Because
No, apparently the rumor going around right now is that Tony Khan is trying to talk Bret Hart into wrestling a match in AEW. And
is he even physically able?
no, that's why it's so bad. But Dax Hardwood came out and said that, well, it can't be worse than the Shawn Michaels Saudi Arabia clown show from when DX got back together. I'm going to text Keegan back the text that he just sent me to break stereotypes.
So what you're saying is you'll bow to peer pressure. I don't think you should text him back. I think you should be consistent. If you text him back, he'll expect it every time. Don't put that pressure on yourself.
Don't get spoiled, buddy.
Look at that. It's the sun. It's hiding.
Here comes the sun.
Do it, Eddie.
Here comes the sun. I see. It's all right.
You know, I don't want to ruin the streak or anything, but I haven't missed this week. Just want you to know that.
Why would you say that out loud on Wednesday?
What?
Why would you say that out loud on Wednesday?
Confidence. And the ability to not shoot again the entire week if I want to.
I just received a 55-second in-show voicemail.
Yeah, I got that too.
Did you?
Yes. Says I will let them know or something like that. And it's like, okay. Question is, who's actually going to listen to it? Me or you? Or neither one of us? At the risk of sounding like old man, do you know how to access your voicemail?
I do.
I've never bothered. Does it involve pigeon or smoke signals, Keegan? I'm curious.
Savannah, who is Keegan's fiance, will tell Keegan to tell Rob / the groomsman to do this thing, but then she will call my girlfriend to communicate the same information to make sure that it is delivered to me by Courtney. So just to cover all our bases, she's like, Keegan, tell your groomsmen this, but then calls all of their significant others to tell them to tell the groomsmen the same thing.
It's being thorough. It's a good move.
It's not trusting her fiance is what it is, if we're being honest.
Thorough. That's all.
So the USFL is having their draft. Started it yesterday. Got the first 2 rounds underway. We're doing like first handful of rounds. We're doing 35 rounds of USFL draft, right? They're basically drafting entire teams for the teams in the USFL. There's let's see, there's New Orleans, there is Tampa, there is, the Michigan Panthers, the Tampa Bay Bandits,
Wait. The Michigan Panthers.
Michigan Panthers.
So
yes.
so Michigan is known for their Panthers, I guess. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I genuinely don't know if that's true or not. Genuinely don't know. Michigan Panthers, Tampa Bay Bandits, the Philadelphia Stars, the New Jersey Generals, the Houston Gamblers, the Birmingham Stallions. Sorry, Birmingham. Don't say Birmingham. That's in England. Birmingham Stallions, the Pittsburgh Maulers, and the New Orleans Breakers are the teams in the USFL.
All right, I'm gonna have to look up see what a Mauler
Fighter.
mascot
You
looks
maul
like.
somebody.
Okay.
Oh, you need the mascot.
Yeah.
No idea.
I know about mauling.
It is, I guess, in tribute to Pittsburgh. The logo is like a darkened profile of a steel worker throwing slinging a sledgehammer over his shoulder, like hitting something with it. I guess they just couldn't be the other Steelers. Anyway, some of the names that have gone in the draft so far. First overall pick for the Michigan Panthers was Shea Patterson, the former Michigan Wolverine quarterback, is in the USFL. Jordan Ta'amu from Ole Miss. Remember him? A lot of people thought he was going to have NFL aspirations. Did not. He is now with Tampa Bay.
By the way, I believe Shea Patterson's from here.
Is he really?
I believe so, yes.
Did not know that. How about that? Let's see. Started at both Mississippi and Michigan. I don't know. I have to look that up. Anyway, some of the other names that have come off the board. Brian Scott is on the board to the New Jersey Generals. Goes Ben Holmes out of Tarleton State. The Houston Gamblers, Clayton Thorson from Northwestern. The Birmingham Stallions got Alex Mago out of Florida International. The Pittsburgh Maulers took Kyle Lauletta out of Richmond, and the New Orleans Breakers took Kyle Slaughter, the old quarterback from Northern Colorado. That's your first round. There's some other interesting names that have been drafted. Davin Bellamy, a former Georgia defensive lineman, is on there. Let's see. Bryson Young out of Oregon is there. Mekhi Brown, the former Alabama 4-star prospect, is on there. Anyway, the point is, there's some names, right? There are some names that some of us have heard before, but there's also a lot of guys that played at smaller schools that this is their chance to get that exposure. Now, competing with the USFL starting in 2023 is going to be XFL volume, what are we on, 3.0 now? And
because McMahon did it twice.
yeah, we had the first iteration of the XFL, which was if professional wrestlers played football. Second version was like if professional wrestlers played football, but it was more emphasis on football. And the third version of the XFL is going to be football. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Finally, The Rock has come back to football. And The Rock made an announcement earlier this week via social media when The Rock got on Twitter and IG, and The Rock said this in clip number 6. He talks a little bit about a deal he's got lined up with the NFL.
Excited, I am motivated, and man, this one is humbling. I am so honored to be able to share this very big announcement with you guys that the XFL is officially collaborating with the NFL, the National Football League. And the whole idea about the XFL NFL collaboration is to grow the game of football, the game that we all love, the game that we are passionate about. Now that the XFL is joining forces with the NFL with one goal in mind, which is innovation opportunities to advance the game of football. But in addition to, the innovation opportunities, we're also looking to not only grow the game of football, but also create opportunities for player development on and off the field. And as an XFL owner, as you guys know, my number one priority will always be the players and creating more opportunities for them. So we're just getting started. What a force to be reckoned with, the XFL and the NFL. I'll keep you guys posted. I love you guys. Here we go.
There you go. Dwayne, not a real man, The Rock Johnson, showing up and saying that they have formed a partnership with the NFL. Effectively, what's going to happen here is that the NFL is going to use the XFL as a testing ground, right? Not only are they going to have players go through there and let's be real. You got a better shot at the league out of the XFL with a partnership with the NFL than the USFL that either doesn't or has a very loose one. Because the NFL is going to have heavy eyeballs on the XFL, right? Because the NFL is going to the NFL or to the XFL and saying, all right, we're thinking about trying this, right? We've heard about all the potential changes in the rules that the NFL has been testing out. What if we got away with kickoffs? What if we made every PAT a 2-point conversion instead of extra points? What if we did this? What if we that? What if overtime was college football rules? What if X? What if Y? What if Z? And the premise here is that the XFL will test those rules on behalf of the NFL with a generation of players that is trying to prove that they deserve a shot with the big boys in the NFL. For years, there have been pop-up leagues, the AAFL, the USFL, the old USFL, the XFL, Volume 1, 2, and 3. We've seen plenty of pop-up leagues that have tried to have some level of success relative to the NFL. The one thing that none of them have done has been go to the NFL and go, whoa, hold up. What if we partner with you, right? What if we partner with you? What if you give us your thoughts, your ideas? We'll be a breeding ground. We'll be a testing ground. We'll be a proving ground. And you guys can send down rules or thoughts or ideas that you want to test out. And we'll take a look. We'll put them into action. And we'll see what happens, right? I mean, most things in football, you do not find out that they work until you find out that they work, right? You don't find out that a thing is going to work until you put it in action out on the field and you see if it's going to work or not. And this is a really good opportunity. It's a good opportunity because it does not hurt. The XFL can't do worse by having a partnership with the NFL. The XFL can't be hurt. In fact, if anything, it can almost only be helped. Because if the NFL ever was to genuinely feel like there was a league that had a long-term chance to eventually one day usurp the throne from the Shield, the NFL could throw everything they got and more directly at that league in order to slow its roll just a little bit. But if the NFL is in cahoots with you, if the NFL is going, you know what, we're benefiting from this, right? We can see if these rules are A, effective, B, safe, C, efficient, and D, enjoyed by the crowd, right? Before we put them in play in the NFL, we're going to support that. We're going to let that happen. I'll tell you what, The Rock, owner of the XFL, Dwayne Not a Real Man Johnson, Lonzo, has just made probably the smartest move that any startup league president, chief, CEO, owner, etc. has made in trying to get one of these leagues up and off the ground.
I like the idea and everything, but I'm curious, is the NFL funding part of the XFL? Because you don't give someone power to experiment in your league without them also having a stake in it as far as money-wise goes. Because if you're the NFL, you go, yeah, we'll do this. But if you have no power to stop the XFL from going, you know what? I don't like that idea. We're not doing that. I just wonder if the XFL is also being funded by the NFL.
I don't know.
Because if you have some money, you have some power, according to Tony Montana.
Who also said, say hello to my little friend.
He did.
I don't know is the answer. I don't know. I have not gotten to read the agreement. I don't know if The Rock or the NFL has made the agreement public.
I think you should file it for you. We need to know.
Let's do it. Let's just call Dwayne and see if Dwayne will give us some insight.
Or you could do that.
You know? Dwayne The Rock, fan of the Rob Brown Show Johnson, as he's popularly known in some circles. in other circles known as Dwayne Not a Real Man Johnson, I suspect we can get him to just give us the deets, right?
I just want to point out that is a moniker that is said in jest towards somebody else. We don't believe that. I just want to point that out in case there are people who are tuning in the show going, why is he saying that?
Have you seen The Rock?
Yeah, well.
So, all that being said, I think it's a great idea. I think it's good for the NFL, right? Because again, there are a lot of thoughts about how to make football safer, faster, more enjoyable, right? Like I blew somebody's mind the other day, Lonzo, because I went and found the article from, I think, either New York Times or Washington Post from a couple of years ago, where a guy took a stopwatch to a football game, right? And he clicked start when the ball was snapped, and he clicked stop when the ball carrier was marked down. And in 60 minutes of football, there's somewhere between 4 and 8 minutes of actual play, right? Now, as I've told people before, it's not really fair because a large portion of football happens before the snap, right? Offense is getting set, defense is getting set, defense is disguising coverage, quarterbacks reading that, calling audibles, coaches calling in, making personnel shifts. All of this is part of the game, but there's about 4 to 8 minutes where the ball's actually in play.
Which is why, if you want to record a game and watch it, you can watch an entire NFL game in 30 to 40 minutes.
Tops.
Because, and not by fast forwarding, but just by clicking that button that clicks ahead 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Because unless they're in hurry up, they're going to take pretty much the entire clock before they hike the ball.
Yeah. It's I don't know, man. Like it's not that tough to go, we should probably speed this up a little bit, right? We should probably speed this game up. And there are potential ways to do it. And the XFL is now the training ground, right? The XFL is now the training ground. It's a spot where they can go, let's find out if this works or not. And if the NFL has your back, you know what the NFL is not doing? Standing between you and success. They are not using the shield to block you from success. If they're in your corner, that's the biggest advocacy you can have if you're a startup league. Does that mean the XFL one day will rival the NFL? No, probably not, for being honest. It's hard to go up against a multi-billion-dollar corporation and win. But it does mean that we may at least get an option for some competitive football that's different and gives us a more year-round option. We'll see. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo, it's ESPN Upstate.
To know our clients so we can tailor their portfolios to their specific goals and needs. We even offer resources on Social Security, Medicare, tax efficiency, and more. Our primary goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement. But we still sell investments that generate high commissions.
Yeah, Keegan, 100%. I got to tell you, though, kind of wish they would have hired you as creative director for the New Orleans Breakers because there's a lot of potential in that nickname. There's a lot of potential in that moniker. And the uniforms they came up with are not good. Not good. Not good. Not good. Not good.
Choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/morerewarder and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
To demonstrate the power of Cricket nationwide 5G, we brought in this monster truck. And to tell you Cricket 5G is available on every plan at no extra charge, we brought in this fleet of monster
Progressive presents Forced Metaphors about bundling your home and auto.
When you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, you get great savings as well as flood protection, which is as beautiful as looking your firstborn child in the eyes for the first time. Well, that's a bit much. Maybe it's more like looking your second-born child in the eyes for like the third or fourth time. Point being, the savings and round-the-clock protection are really, really magical.
Forced Metaphors, presented by Progressive. Bundle and protect today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company is 50 pound in most states or situations.
It's time to say goodnight to that check engine light with the free AutoZone Fix Finder service. It'll help troubleshoot the likely cause of your light for free, so you can drive with peace of mind. Restrictions apply.
Cutting the price of your wireless feels good. Really good. You know I'm all about that.
Rob Brown Show, what do you want to talk about?
Cold, baby.
Okay, what's your name? All right, hang on, Jason. You have a Harley in the next break, which is the last break. It's 2:38. When did that happen?
Jason. So I've just been informed that I can purchase the glasses Tony Stark / Peter Parker wore, Edith. I can get those with my prescription in them. I'm kind of tempted. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to pull them off or not because they're kind of big. Big lenses, not frames.
No, I got you.
Big frames I can work with. Big lenses, I don't know if I can or not.
When you say big lenses, you mean thick lenses? Or you
No,
just
like
mean...
they're...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're tall. Wall. I don't know why I said
Well,
it like that.
you mean like a Roy Orbison type tall? What do you got to look it up?
No, I'm actually pulling up those glasses.
Oh, okay.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is ESPN Upstate. Quickly getting to the end of the radio broadcast, but Jason has checked in to talk a little bit about the USFL / XFL / NFL / football, baby. Jason, welcome to the show, buddy. Good to have you.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Sure thing.
I don't see why this will work. It never has worked. And, well, I don't remember that Albert Einstein, he had some quote about, trying the same thing over and over. I don't know the exact quote on that. I don't see why it'll work. Just because it never has worked. With all these leagues, could be wrong. I don't have any, interest in it. Now, I do wonder this, there's only been one league other than the NFL that had consistent success for, almost a couple of decades, and it was football. It wasn't, traditional football, the Arena League, and I was kind of surprised that hasn't kind of come back. I kind of wondered if the NFL would ever put their name behind that. They just kind of have a different sport, sort of a different sport, but still kind of football, and maybe the months of May, June, July, or whatever, because like I said, it did have some success. So I don't know. It's there's no way for sure that both the XFL and USFL both have success together. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So
guys,
appreciate
appreciate it, Jason. Thanks for checking in. So that's kind of the direction I was going. First off, if you weren't following it, the what was it? The AAF, the American Alliance of Football, the AAFL or whatever it was, they were actually doing okay pre-pandemic, right? I mean, they weren't blowing the world on fire, but they were doing okay pre-pandemic.
The XFL was doing okay too. And they were starting to get some interest and everything, and then boom.
Yeah. the both of those leagues were doing relatively well until the pandemic hit, and it killed them both, right? Because the NFL could bear a season, maybe two, without fans in attendance because of TV revenue. Those two leagues cannot. But there were multiple stadiums, St. Louis specifically, after they had lost the Rams, that did a pretty damn good job of packing folks in to watch these effectively minor league football games, right? I think step one is not to compete with the NFL in season. You got to do spring football, worst case summer ball. Although I've been to Birmingham in the summer, and I do not suggest doing anything outside in Birmingham in the summer. You got to do spring football. You got to give us a time when we're not going to be up against college ball. We're not going to be up against the NFL. And the second thing is you got to do one of two things. And Jason mentioned the Arena League, right? The Arena League worked, Lonzo, because it was so radically different, right? 3 linemen, 50-yard field. Dudes getting hockey checked into the boards. The end zone had nothing but barrier wrapped around it. So
yeah, we had a the lower tier Arena League here. Yeah. And they actually played in the Well. It wasn't the Well, then it's still the Well. And went to some games, the Rhinos. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. There was one in Pensacola for a little while. They were fun, right? Because it was so radically different. So option one is you do something radically different from traditional football. And on top of that.
Yeah, but when you do that, it's a novelty. And I get that's part of the draw. But after a while, I mean, can you consistently keep people in there to watch?
And that's a question. And it's a fair question. But to get off the ground, you got to do something radically different. Because it gives us right. If you put up football and you call it pro football, people are going to inherently compare it to the National Football League. And you're just not going to have the same talent, right? You're just not going to have the same talent. That's just how it works. The second option is you do something that is similar to the football that we currently have, to the NFL, to college football. You do something that is similar to it, but you get those guys on your back. You get the NFL in your corner saying, we support this. We think this is good. We're going to use it to develop new talent, right? How many guys, Lonzo, do you think in history came out of college football, weren't quite ready for the NFL, but if they had a genuine year or two of good football training, could have developed into an NFL player? Maybe not a great player, but a consistent NFL player. I got to say, there's at least been a bunch in history, right? Guys that weren't quite good enough to make a roster.
Or guys who had some troubles and couldn't finish their last season or something like that. And yeah, I definitely, there are guys out there. When the Rhinos were in town, I actually tried out for the team. There's no way I would ever make it, but I wanted to see the inner workings of how that happened as far as the Arena team. And there were guys there that stood out, and maybe because of height or other things, they'd never made it to the next level, made it to the NFL. And there are a ton of guys out there all over the country who, if they just had a little more time to develop, would have a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a dude that ended up on an NFL practice roster that would have been, I think, good enough to make it to the show. But he got onto an NFL practice roster, then kicked to another one. And here's the secret. NFL practice rosters don't develop you, right? Because you're emulating somebody else all the time, either your own team or the team that your team's playing next week. And you're there, okay, you pretend to be Odell Beckham this week. Run Odell's routes in Odell's style with Odell's quarterback throwing to you. You don't develop yourself. If the NFL looks at you and says, hey, look, we think we can grow guys out of this league, and we're going to support it. And they say, we're going to use NFL rules, except some new experimental ones to see if the game itself gets better. That's the second option. One, something radically different, keeping in mind that if you are running something radically different, a lot of guys aren't making it from your show to theirs because it's a different sport, right? Arena football is effectively football, but it's not at least the way the NFL plays it. Option two is you play something similar to what the NFL plays, and you recognize your position as a second-tier league, as a developmental league, as a growth league, as an experimental league, and you lean into it. That's what AAFL or AAL or whatever they were last year, 2 years ago? That's what they did, and it was working. They were growing. Again, were they filling out 90,000 seat stadiums? No. Would they have? Probably not. But if they could pack 35, 40,000 in St. Louis, 35, 40,000 in San Antonio, it's good enough for now, right? It's good up. It's a good start. And it looks like that's what the XFL is doing. Texas says the NFL should do a deal with the XFL and USFL as a developmental and farming type league like MLB does. Win-win. Yeah, I think that's what The Rock was insinuating, right? They're effectively a farm league for the NFL now. They're effectively a growth league. Players that are just barely not good enough to make a roster can come there and get 2 or 3 or 4 years of NFL-style development where they train their skills and their abilities at their level and get fed up to the league. Who knows? If the NFL supports you, though, it makes it a hell of a lot easier than if they don't. I think it's a good move by the XFL. I think it's a good move by The Rock. The XFL suddenly has a leg up on the USFL, even though they're starting a year behind the USFL. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Twitter trending topics to call it a day next on The Rob Brown Show. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. You're listening to ESPN Upstate.
This is important news. If you have unfiled tax returns, the IRS is shifting gears and ramping up investigations on non-filers this year. If you fail to file your tax returns for a year or more, or you owe back taxes, now's the time to call Optima Tax Relief before
finds you. Optima is America's #1 most trusted tax resolution firm, specialized in helping individuals, families, and businesses get right with the IRS. They're experts in the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, a powerful new program that can make resolving tax issues easier. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, Optima's award-winning team has helped thousands of people protect their paychecks, bank accounts, homes, and businesses by putting their tax problems to rest, resolving over $1 billion in tax debts for their clients. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
So I don't know what they're called, but you know those pieces of paper in a bathroom that you put on a toilet seat? Has there always been one of those in there? Because I don't recall. I've never noticed it, and we've been in this building, I don't know, for 20 years or 18, 19 years. This is the first time I've ever noticed it. I'm wondering if the ones that are in there are the same ones that were in there when the building opened, because I'm guessing they might be. I don't want to pull one out to have it carbon tested, because if I do that, who knows what surprise might be in there just waiting for someone to do that. Carbon dated, carbon tested, whatever. Same thing. Maybe. I don't know. Yes, Stephen, probably, and other stuff.
Our radio station bathroom is a like a hazard zone.
There are morning shows,
Yes.
and when there are morning shows, there are morning show pranks.
There are morning movements.
Yes, and
those people have no shame, none. Go downstairs. The salespeople aren't in the office. Go downstairs for that.
time for Twitter trending topics, where I tell Rob what is trending on the internet. And the first thing that's trending is Cam Newton.
No idea why Cam is trending. Obviously, a lot of Panthers fans kind of disappointed in the way that his tenure is going to once again end in Carolina. He did film the interview the other day. I don't know if you saw this. I wanted to play the audio and then I just forgot. But he got interviewed by a young lady who is an Instagram model who is known for having adult rendezvous with professional athletes and then writing about them in detail in different books. And she was like, hey, if I come up to the ATL when you're hanging out in Atlanta, can I pull up? And Cam was like, no, I'm not going to holler at you. I'm not going to holler at you now. I'm never going to holler at you. And she said, why? And he goes, because I ain't trying to end up in one of your books. And she was like, wow, I just got called out. And it was incredible. That's what he should be trending for.
Well, along those lines, he has trended because he was asked why he didn't marry his ex-girlfriend. And he said that every day for him was like he was on Temptation Island. And he didn't want to be unfaithful to a wife.
So he just do it for a girlfriend. Allegedly. Look, I don't know if he did or not, right? Here's the thing. You know what? And this reminds me of the Tiger Woods story. Not the most recent one of the one.
He's talking about, he's young, he's rich.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
I've said for many years, Lonzo, Tiger Woods did one thing wrong. In his whole career, he did one thing wrong. You know what it was?
He got married.
He got married. It's the only thing he did wrong. He was living a lifestyle that was perfectly fine for a single bachelor. Perfectly fine for a single bachelor. A billionaire single bachelor with great looks, a boyish smile, charm, and talent. He was living a fine life with the exception of being married. Had he never married a Swedish bikini supermodel, right? Then no one would have ever done that. You know, if he would have just forgone a multimillionaire Swedish supermodel, then he would have been fine. Nobody would have cared. Oh, he does the dirty with a bunch of women. Yeah, he's really rich and good looking. It comes with the territory, man. So you know what? Some of y'all are gonna bash him. I appreciate Cam's honesty in that moment. He's one of the only ones that's telling y'all the truth about that life.
Yeah, Tiger was a waitress's dream. Tom Brady is trending.
Tommy B, the GOAT. Tom Brady is trending because
This is very recent, so I'm sure you haven't seen it.
I have not.
He is producing and starring in a road trip movie.
I'm in.
About 2019 Patriots fans. Yeah, it's hard for me to come out about that. So,
And I'll tell you why I'm in. I don't know if you watched. Did you watch the Ted movies?
I did not.
Okay.
I know he was in them though.
He was in Ted too, and
It was toilet papering or something. Wasn't it?
kind of. So part of the story of Ted 2, it's a come to life teddy bear, right? And the teddy
Played
bear,
by Seth MacFarlane.
yes, created by the guy who directed Family Guy. So it's absolutely wild. It's insane. And the premise is the teddy bear, Ted, is trying to prove that he's a person and that he's capable of being married. And one of the things that he can do is have a kid. So him and Mark Wahlberg try to steal the baby makers of Tom Brady while he's in his sleep. And Brady is freaking hilarious in it. So if Brady's making a movie and he's great at everything he does, I'm watching it, Lonzo. Are you watching it?
No, but
You are.
it is
You
trending.
are.
So yeah.
I'll watch it in the office just out of spite for making fun of my hair, you jerk.
Yeah, that movie, if it does come out, won't be out where you can watch it for years.
Mark Ryan and Diesel are up next with Offsides. For Lonzo, I'm Rob. See you tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Later, brother.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers among the topics discussed today by Packers
Bye,
GM
Stream.
Gutekunst.
Bye,
He wasn't really
Stream.